Welcome back to Twilight Tea. If you're ready to fade out the world and drift off, I've got a great lineup of news stories for you to enjoy. Before you fall asleep, leave a quick comment telling me where you're listening from and what the time is there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to join our cozy corner. Now close your eye and let's begin the first story.
Story 1. I, 29M. Thought I had won the lottery with Jessica, 27F. She is, objectively, stunning. The kind of woman who stops traffic. I'm a decent-looking guy. I take care of myself. I hit the gym, I dress well. But I'm not a model. I'm 5 feet 9 inches. I have a receding hairline that I keep short. And I wear glasses. I made up for my average genetics by grinding. I built a software consulting firm from the ground up. I have a paid-off house, and I treat people with respect. Jessica loved the lifestyle I provided. She loved the house, the trips, and the security. But looking back, I realized she always viewed our relationship as a merger rather than a romance. She was the brand, and I was the investor. The red flags were there, but they were painted in shades of beige and hidden behind Instagram filters. Jessica is obsessed with aesthetics. Not just looking good, but optimizing everything. Her coffee has to look a certain way. Our living room is uncomfortably white because it looks cleaner on camera. She also had a weird fixation on her ex, Liam. Liam is a personal trainer. He's 6 feet 4 inches, has a jawline that could cut glass, and a full head of thick hair. He's also 30 years old, lives with 3 roommates, and has borrowed money from Jessica in the past, which I paid off to stop the drama. She would bring him up in weird contexts. We'd be watching a movie, and she'd say, "See, that actor has the same eye shape as Liam." It's such a strong, dominant trait. I'd usually brush it off. "Yeah, he's a good-looking dude, Jess. We get it. It's not just looks, Mark," she'd say, waving a hand dismissively. "It's biological currency. People treat you differently when you have that kind of symmetry." I didn't think much of it. We were 4 weeks away from the wedding. I had dropped about $65,000 on deposits alone. The venue, the catering, the band. It was all top tier because that's what she wanted. I loved her, so I signed the checks. Then came the conversation. We were sitting at the kitchen island having dinner. She had her iPad out, looking at future family mood boards on Pinterest. Cute kids in beige linen clothes, that sort of thing. "Mark," she said, tapping her stylus against the screen. "We need to talk about the timeline for kids again. I've been doing some research." "Okay," I said, taking a bite of steak. "We said maybe a year after the wedding, right?" "Right," she said, not looking up. "But I've been thinking about the logistics and the variables." She put the iPad down and looked at me with this serious, almost pitying expression. "I love you so much, Mark. You know that, right? You're the best partner I could ever ask for. You're smart. You're stable. You're kind." I sense a but coming, I joked. "Not a but. A pivot," she corrected. "I want our children to have the absolute best start in life. The best opportunities. And we have to be honest about the world we live in. It's shallow. Pretty privilege is real. Height privilege is real." I put my fork down. "Okay." And she took a deep breath, like she was about to pitch me a business idea. "I think, logically, if we want to give our kids the maximum advantage, we shouldn't use your DNA. The room went dead silent. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Excuse me. I laughed nervously. You want to adopt? No, she said, leaning forward, her eyes bright with logic. I want to carry the baby, but I think we should use a donor. Specifically, a donor with elite genetic markers. My stomach dropped. Jessica, what are you talking about? I'm talking about Liam, she said. She said it so casually, like she was suggesting we order Thai food instead of pizza. Liam. I repeated, my voice flat. Your broke ex-boyfriend, Liam? He's not broke, he's creative. She snapped, then softened her tone. Look, Mark, be objective. Remove your ego for a second. Liam is 6 feet 4 inches. He has 20/20 vision. No family history of heart disease or male pattern baldness. His bone structure is perfect. If we combine my genes with his, we are practically guaranteeing a child who is physically superior. An alpha. She reached across the table to touch my hand. I pulled it away. You want me to raise your ex-boyfriend's kid? It would be our kid, she insisted. You'd be the father on the birth certificate. You'd raise him. You'd mold his mind with your intelligence. But he'd have Liam's chassis. It's the best of both worlds. Your brain, his body. Why would we burden a child with? Well, you know, average traits, when we have a premium option right there. Average traits, I whispered. Mark, look at yourself, she said, gesturing to my face. You wear glasses. You're under 6 feet. You have asthma. Why pass that on? It's selfish. I've already run it by Liam, and he's totally on board. He thinks it's a cool legacy thing. He wouldn't want to be involved. Just a donor. It's literally just a biological transaction. My ears were ringing. She had already run it by Liam. That was the moment the love died. It didn't fade, it was decapitated. She had been talking to her ex-boyfriend, discussing my genetic inferiority, and planning to have his baby while I paid for the hospital bill. She didn't see me as a husband. She saw me as a resource. A beta provider to pay for the alpha's offspring. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I saw the entitlement. The narcissism. The utter lack of respect for my dignity as a man. If I screamed, she would call me insecure. If I cried, she would call me emotional. If I argued, she would try to gaslight me with her logic. So I decided to speak her language. I picked up my wine glass, swirled it, and took a sip. I forced my face into a calm, thoughtful expression. You talked to Liam already? I asked. Just hypothetically, she smiled, sensing a victory. He agrees that for the sake of the child, it's the logical move. I nodded slowly. You know, you make a compelling case, Jess. It's about optimization. Asset management. We shouldn't let my ego get in the way of the product. Her face lit up. She actually clapped her hands together. Oh my God, Mark. I knew you'd understand. Most guys would be so toxic and fragile about this. This is why I love you. You're so rational. It sounds logical, I said. Let me sleep on the logistics tonight. We can finalize the plan tomorrow. Perfect, she beamed. I have my final dress fitting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Maybe we can celebrate after. Oh, we will definitely celebrate, I said. I cleared the table. I washed the dishes. I kissed her on the forehead and told her I had some work to finish in the home office. She went to bed happy, dreaming of her genetically perfect designer baby. I went to my office, locked the door, and opened my laptop. I didn't open a spreadsheet. I opened my banking app. It was time to optimize my assets. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the glow of my monitors, fueled by a cold, sharp clarity that felt less like heartbreak and more like a corporate restructuring. Jessica was asleep in our bedroom, probably dreaming of her 6 feet 4 inches baby. Meanwhile, I was systematically dismantling her life. First, the joint account. We had a wedding fund that we both contributed to. But let's be real. I put in 90% of the cash. She contributed vibes and aesthetic direction. I transferred every cent of my contribution back to my primary business account. I left exactly $400 in there, per share. Next, the credit cards. She was an authorized user on my Platinum Amex and my Chase Sapphire. I didn't just freeze them. I removed her completely. Then came the vendors. This was the painful part, physically and financially. I knew I wouldn't get most of the deposits back. The venue, the florist, the photographer, that money was gone. But I'd rather lose $65,000 burning it in a barrel than spend another dime on a woman who thought I was genetically unworthy of my own children. I drafted a single copy-paste email to all 12 vendors. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding scheduled for next month is canceled effective immediately. Please cancel all pending orders. I understand deposits are non-refundable. Do not contact the bride. Direct all communication to me. I hit send. It was 3 a.m. The last step was the house. I bought it 2 years before we met. Her name wasn't on the deed, but she had established residency. I couldn't legally throw her out on the street overnight without a process, but I could make it incredibly inconvenient. I logged into the smart home app and deleted her fingerprint from the front door lock. I changed the garage code. I packed 2 suitcases of my own clothes. I wasn't going to be there when she got back. I booked a suite at a hotel downtown for the week. By 6 a.m., I was showered and dressed. I put on my best suit. When Jessica woke up at 8 a.m., I was in the kitchen making coffee. I looked normal. I acted normal. This was the hardest performance of my life. Morning, babe. She yawned, stretching. She looked beautiful. It made me sick. Did you sleep okay? You came to bed late. Yeah, just had to move some assets around, I said, handing her a mug. Thinking about the future. She smiled, sipping the coffee. I'm so glad you're on board with the donor thing, Mark. Honestly, it shows how secure you are. Liam texted me back, by the way. He's excited to help. She actually showed me the text. Liam. LOL sounds wild. But yeah, if Mark is cool with it, I'm down to donate the swimmers. Let's make a super baby. I stared at the screen. He seems eager. He just wants to help, she chirped. Anyway, I have to run. Final fitting. My mom and the girls are meeting me there. This is the big one. I take the dress home today. Right, I said. The final balance is due today, isn't it? Yeah, about $4,000. I'll just put it on the Amex. Sounds logical, I said. I kissed her on the forehead. Have a great time, Jess. You deserve it. She beamed, grabbed her keys, and left. I waited until her car turned the corner. Then I grabbed my suitcases, walked out the door, and locked it behind me. 10:45 a.m. I was sitting in my hotel room, staring at my phone. I knew the timing perfectly. The appointment started at 10. She would try on the dress. The seamstress would make final adjustments. Everyone would cry and drink champagne. And then, the transaction. 10:52 a.m. Notification, American Express. Card declined. Transaction attempt. $4,200 at Bella Spasa Bridal. 10:53 a.m. Notification, American Express. Card declined. Transaction attempt. $4,200 at Bella Spasa Bridal. 10:55 a.m. My phone rang. Caller ID. Jessica Redhart. I let it ring 3 times. I took a deep breath. I answered calmly. Hey, honey. How's the dress? Mark. Her voice was high-pitched, tight with panic. In the background, I could hear the low murmur of a shop. Probably her bridesmaids whispering. There's an issue with the Amex. It's not going through. They tried it twice. It's embarrassing, my mom is standing right here. Oh, I said. That's strange. What did the machine say? It said not authorized or something. Did you forget to pay the bill? Can you call them? Or just transfer the money to the debit card? I need to take the dress now. We have the luncheon. I didn't forget to pay the bill, Jessica. Then what is it? Fraud protection? Just unlock it. I canceled the card. I said. My voice was even, devoid of emotion. I removed you as a user this morning. There was a pause. A heavy, confused silence. What? Why would you do that today? Of all days. I also canceled the venue. I continued, staring out the window at the city skyline. And the caterer. And the band. The wedding is off, Jess. Is this a joke? Her voice cracked. She sounded small. Mark, everyone is staring at me. Stop messing around. I'm being logical, I said, throwing her word back at her. I stayed up all night thinking about your proposal. About the genetics. Mark, we can talk about that later. Just pay for the dress. No, we need to talk about it now. You see, you were right. I crunched the numbers. If I'm not genetically good enough to be the father of your children, then logically, I'm not good enough to be the husband who pays for your life. It would be a poor investment on my part to fund a family line that excludes me. I didn't say you weren't good enough, she screamed. The background noise in the shop stopped. She was making a scene. I said I wanted to optimize. I love you. You love my wallet, I corrected. You love the house and the trips and the stability. But you lust after Liam. You respect Liam's biology more than mine. You even texted him before you talked to me. That's not optimization, Jessica. That's infidelity with extra steps. I was trying to help us, she was sobbing now. I was trying to give us a better baby. And I'm trying to give myself a better life. I said, I can't risk having a son who inherits his mother's narcissism. Or her stupidity. That's a genetic marker I can't afford. Mark, please, she begged. I'm in the dress. I'm literally wearing the dress right now. My mom is crying. Don't do this. Take the dress off, Jessica. You can't afford it. Maybe Liam can pay for it. He's got those alpha genes. Surely he has $4,000 lying around. Mark, go have beautiful kids with someone else, I said. The house is locked. I'll send you a time next week when you can come get your things. Do not contact me again. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. I sat there for a moment, listening to the silence of the hotel room. I expected to feel devastated. I expected to feel the crushing weight of a canceled future. Instead, I felt lighter than air. I didn't just block her. I went scorched earth. I blocked her mom, her sisters, and her bridesmaids. I knew the flying monkeys were coming, and I had no interest in the circus. I spent the next 3 days working from the hotel. It was incredibly productive. It's amazing how much work you can get done when you aren't spending 3 hours a night debating color palettes for napkins. On the 4th day, I got an email from a mutual friend, Dave. Dave was one of the few solid guys on her side of the aisle. Subject, dude. Mark, I'm not getting involved, but you need to know what she's posting. She's spinning this hard. She's telling everyone you were abusive and that you abandoned her at the altar because you were insecure about her past. She didn't mention the donor thing. She's making you look like a monster. People are taking sides. I sighed. Of course she was. Narcissists never own the narrative. They rewrite it. I had a choice. I could stay silent and take the high road, letting my reputation take a hit. Or I could drop the nuke. I opened the folder on my phone where I kept receipts. I had the screenshot of the text she sent me about the genetic optimization. I had the audio recording of our dinner conversation from the Ring camera in the kitchen. I had checked the logs. The camera caught the whole audio clearly. I decided to be the professional. I wouldn't post a rant. I wouldn't call her names. I logged onto Facebook, where the war was raging. Her aunt had posted a status calling me a cowardly little man. I made one post. There seems to be some confusion regarding the cancellation of the wedding. I believe in transparency. Jessica proposed that we use her ex-boyfriend, Liam, as a sperm donor for our future children because my genetics were average and she wanted to optimize for height and looks. She had already discussed this with him behind my back. I declined to fund a life where I am a spectator in my own family. I wish her and Liam the best. I attached the audio clip. Then I turned my phone off and went to the gym. When I turned it back on 2 hours later, my phone was so hot from notifications I thought it might explode. The internet does not take kindly to people who try to eugenics optimize their spouses out of the gene pool. But the real satisfaction didn't come from the likes. It came 2 weeks later, when I finally went back to the house to meet her for the move out. She wasn't alone. And neither was I. Saturday came. It was a crisp, clear day. I arrived at the house at 11:30 a.m. I wasn't alone. I brought a security guard named Marcus. I hired him through a private firm. It cost me $300 for the afternoon, and it was worth every penny. I didn't want a shouting match. I didn't want false accusations. I wanted a witness, and I wanted a physical barrier. I also brought a contractor to change the locks immediately after she left. At 11:58 a.m., a U-Haul pulled up. Jessica got out of the passenger side. She looked diminished. The aesthetic was gone. Her hair was in a messy bun. She wore sweatpants, and she looked like she hadn't slept in a week. She wasn't alone, either. She brought her dad. I liked her dad. He was a quiet, blue-collar guy who always seemed a bit uncomfortable with how high-maintenance Jessica was. He looked at me, then looked at the ground. He knew. He was ashamed. They walked up the driveway. Marcus, my security guard, stepped forward, holding a clipboard. "Name?" Marcus asked, completely deadpan. "It's my house." Jessica snapped, though her voice lacked its usual bite. "It's Mr. Henderson's house," Marcus corrected. "You're here for item retrieval. Garage only. Sign here." She signed, her hand shaking. I stood by the garage door, leaning against the wall, checking emails on my phone. I gave her the professional archetype. Polite, detached, unbothered. She walked past me into the garage where I had already stacked her boxes. I had been generous. I packed everything that was remotely hers. Clothes, makeup, the espresso machine she demanded we buy. "Mark," she said. She stopped in front of me. Her dad was already loading boxes into the truck, keeping his head down. I looked up from my phone. "Jessica, can we just talk for 5 minutes?" "Without the bodyguard." "Marcus stays," I said. "And we have nothing to talk about." The email was clear. Tears started welling up in her eyes. "I lost everything, Mark. My friends won't talk to me. Liam blocked me. I'm living in my parents' guest room." "That sounds difficult," I said. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss us. I miss this house. I was just scared, okay?" I got cold feet and I said something stupid about the jeans because I was panicked about the future. I didn't mean it. "You're the one I want. You're my soulmate." She reached out to touch my arm. I took a step back. "You weren't scared, Jess," I said, my voice calm. "You were arrogant. You thought you could curate a life where I paid the bills and Liam provided the biology. You wanted the aesthetic of a family without the reality of the husband." "I was wrong," she cried. "I don't care about looks. I don't care about height. I just want you. You're the smartest man I know. Please, Mark. Give me a chance to fix it." I looked at her. I really looked at her. The woman who sat at my kitchen table 2 weeks ago and coolly discussed my genetic inferiority was gone. In her place was someone desperate, realizing she had traded a diamond for a rock that turned out to be fake. "You know," I said, "I've been thinking about your logic. About optimization." She looked up, hopeful. "Yeah. You were right," I said. Her face brightened. I was. Absolutely. Genetics are important. Heritage is important. And character is hereditary. I checked my watch. "I did a risk assessment, Jess. If we got back together, there is a statistically significant chance our children would inherit your entitlement, your lack of loyalty, your inability to understand consequences." Her face fell. "I can't risk polluting my bloodline with that," I said, delivering the line I had prepared. "I need to optimize for integrity. And unfortunately, you don't meet the criteria." "Mark, that's cruel," she choked out. "It's not cruel," I said, turning back to my phone. "It's just biological currency. You understand." "Let's go, Jess," her dad said from the driveway. His voice was heavy. He wouldn't look me in the eye, but he gave me a curt nod as he grabbed the last box. He knew I was right. She stood there for another 10 seconds, waiting for me to crack. Waiting for the nice guy she thought she was marrying to surface and save her. But that guy died at the kitchen table. "Time is up," Marcus said, checking his watch. "Please vacate the property." She let out a sob, turned around, and walked to the U-Haul. I watched them drive away. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt the specific, clean relief of dodging a bullet that was aimed right between my eyes. The locksmith pulled up 5 minutes later. Epilogue 6 months later. I ran into a mutual friend at a bar. He told me Jessica was dating a guy from her gym. "Is it Liam?" I asked, sipping my bourbon. "No," the friend laughed. "Liam wants nothing to do with her. It's some guy named Todd. He's, well, what? He's 6 feet 5 inches, the friend said. Huge guy? Aspiring model. Good for her, I said. She got her type. Yeah. But he's broke as a joke. The friend grinned. He doesn't have a car. She has to drive him everywhere. And she's working double shifts at a receptionist job to pay for their apartment. I smiled. She got exactly what she wanted. She got the jeans. She got the height. She got the aesthetic. And she's paying for it, literally and metaphorically, every single day. As for me, I started dating a pediatrician named Sarah. She's smart, funny, and beautiful. Last night, we were cooking dinner, and she looked at me. You know, she said, you have really nice eyes. I hope our kids get them. I have bad vision. I reminded her. They'll need glasses. She shrugged and kissed me. Smart guys wear glasses. I think that's an upgrade. Sounds logical, I said. And for the first time in a long time, it actually was. Story 2.
I'm telling you, Pais, it's the one, Tom said, sliding his phone across the sticky bar top. The 72 Omega Speedmaster. The Moonwatch. I squinted at the screen. It looked like a watch. A nice one, sure, with a black dial and 3 smaller circles inside, but it was just a watch. It's cool, Tom. Very astronaut-y. He snatched the phone back, offended. It's not astronaut-y, it's iconic. It's the exact reference Buzz Aldrin wore. Finding one in good condition is like finding a unicorn that knows how to file its own taxes. He sighed, taking a long pull from his beer. Chloe's been looking for one for my birthday, but the good ones are, you know. He trailed off, making a gesture that meant times astronomically expensive, asterisk. Tom and I had been best friends since we were building forts out of couch cushions. Now his 25th birthday was bearing down on us a milestone. He was both dreading and demanding we celebrate with the energy of a music festival. He'd been with Chloe for about a year. She was nice, sweet, artsy, and worshipped the ground he walked on. I liked her mostly. A few weeks later, my boyfriend Liam and I were downtown. He was trying on a suit for his company's ridiculous annual gala, and I was bored scrolling through my phone while he debated between charcoal and navy. To escape the stuffy air of the tailors, I wandered out onto the street. That's when I saw it. Tucked between a sterile art gallery and a coffee shop was a small, dusty storefront with gold lettering times vintage timepieces, asterisk, and there, sitting on a worn velvet pedestal right in the window, was the unicorn. I recognized it instantly from the photo on Tom's phone. The black dial, the clean steel case, the specific layout of the subdials. My heart did a little lurch. It felt like kismet. I pushed open the heavy door, a tiny bell chiming my arrival. "Can I help you?" an old man with a jeweler's loop attached to his glasses asked from behind a counter. "The watch?" I said, pointing at the window. "The Omega." He smiled, a slow, knowing curl of his lips. "Ah, the Speedmaster. A 1,972 all original parts. A real beauty." He carefully retrieved it and laid it on a black cloth on the counter. The price tag was tucked underneath. $2,500. A year ago, that number would have made me choke. But Liam's software company had taken off, and my own marketing firm had landed 2 huge clients. We were disgustingly, wonderfully lucky. The price was a splurge, but it wasn't impossible. It wasn't even difficult. "I'll take it," I said, pulling out my card before I could second-guess myself. Walking out of the shop with the heavy dark wood box in a bag felt electric. This was more than a gift. It was a gesture, a testament to a 20-year friendship. It was the universe telling me to do something awesome. For the guy who once sat with me for 12 straight hours in an ER waiting room after I broke my arm in a spectacular rollerblading accident. I got home and sent him a text. Asterisk. Asterisk. Me. Asterisk. Asterisk. "Hey, weird request for your party Saturday." Asterisk, asterisk, Tom, asterisk, asterisk, is it wear a toga? Because Chloe already vetoed that. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, no. Just, whatever you do, open my gift last. Asterisk. Asterisk, Tom, asterisk, asterisk. Ooh, mysterious. Is it a stripper? Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, just trust me, save it for the grand finale. Saturday night arrived. Tom's apartment was packed with people overflowing with the sounds of laughter and a playlist heavy on 2000s pop punk. I found Tom by the keg already flushed and happy. He gave me a rib-crushing hug. Chloe was beside him, looking lovely in a floral dress. She'd hand-painted a massive Happy 25th banner that hung across the living room. "Paisley, so glad you could make it," she said, her smile genuine. "Wouldn't miss it," I said, handing her a bottle of wine. The banner looks amazing. Thanks. It took forever, but it was worth it. We mingled, we drank, we told embarrassing stories about the birthday boy. Finally, Tom, giddy and a little tipsy, plopped down in the middle of the floor. Gift time peasants. People gathered around. The gifts were great: rare whiskeys, concert tickets, a framed photo of his dog. Then came Chloe's. She knelt in front of him, holding a large, flat, rectangular object wrapped in brown paper. I made this for you, she said, her voice soft. He tore it open. It was a denim jacket. But on the back, Chloe had painstakingly painted a mural of all his favorite things: a cartoon version of his dog, the logo of his favorite band, a mountain range from a camping trip they'd taken. It was intricate, personal, and beautiful. You could feel the hours she'd poured into it. Holy shit, Chloe, Tom breathed, tracing the lines of paint with his finger. This is incredible. He pulled her into a deep kiss and everyone clapped. It was a perfect, tender moment. Then he looked at me, a wide grin spreading across his face. All right, Paisley. The grand finale. I felt a sudden sharp pang of something. Apprehension. I pushed it down. This was for Tom. I retrieved the heavy box from my bag and handed it to him. He felt the weight, his eyebrows shooting up. He ripped off the paper, revealing the polished dark wood. He lifted the lid. The room went silent. For a full 5 seconds, Tom just stared. His mouth hung open. His eyes were wide. He slowly lifted the Omega Speedmaster from its velvet cushion, his hands trembling slightly. No, he whispered. He looked up at me, his eyes glassy. No. Fucking way. And then he exploded. It wasn't a cheer, it was a roar. He scrambled to his feet, the watch clutched in his fist, and practically tackled me in a hug, lifting me off the ground. Paisley, oh my God, you didn't, how did you even find it? He put me down, holding my shoulders, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated ecstasy. This is it. This is the watch, he was screaming, now showing it to anyone who would look. This is the best gift I have ever gotten in my entire life. He hugged me again tight, burying his face in my shoulder. Thank you, thank you, thank you, he mumbled into my ear. I was laughing, caught up in his tidal wave of joy. My gaze drifted over his shoulder and landed on Chloe. She was still kneeling on the floor, the hand-painted jacket resting in her lap. She wasn't looking at the watch. She was looking at us. Her face was a perfect blank. She was smiling, but it was just a shape her mouth was making. It didn't reach her eyes. It didn't even come close. The room was buzzing, everyone crowding around to see the watch, but all I could focus on was her frozen, silent stillness. The party eventually wound down. On the ride home, Liam squeezed my hand. That was a hell of a gift, babe. His reaction was priceless. Yeah, I said, the image of Chloe's face still burned into my mind. It was. She looked a little pissed, though, he added, glancing at me. Tom's girlfriend. You saw that too? Oh yeah. Total death glare. Don't worry about it. She's probably just feeling insecure. You've known him forever. He was right. I'd known Tom forever. This was just me doing something nice for my best friend. Chloe would get over it. The next morning, I woke up feeling hungover but happy. I rolled over and checked my phone for the time. There was one new message received just a minute ago. The name on the screen made my stomach clench into a tight, cold knot. It was from Chloe. The message glowed on the screen. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, I need you to be honest with me. Did you know I was trying to buy him that watch? My heart hammered against my ribs. I sat up, swinging my legs over the side of the bed. Liam was still sound asleep beside me. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk. He mentioned it at the bar once, yeah. Why? The three little dots appeared and disappeared for a full minute. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. So you knew. You knew I was looking. You knew I was saving. And you just went out and bought it anyway. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, Chloe. It wasn't like that. I just stumbled upon it in a vintage shop. It felt like fate. It was a complete coincidence. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, a $2.500 coincidence. Do you have any idea how out of touch that sounds, or how it made me feel? I spent 6 months painting commissions on the side to save up for that. 6 months. You made that meaningless in 5 minutes with a credit card. My fingers fumbled on the keyboard, my defensiveness flaring hot in my chest. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, that's not fair. I was doing something nice for my best friend. I've known him for 20 years. It has nothing to do with you or your budget. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, it has everything to do with me. You didn't just buy him a gift. You bought him the gift times I times was trying to give him. You waited until after I gave him mine, something I poured my soul into, and then you unveiled this monument to your bank account. You intentionally made me and my gift look small. You wanted to show you could... Asterisk. Asterisk. Me. Asterisk. Asterisk. That's insane. I asked him to open it last to build suspense, not to upstage you. You're twisting this into something ugly. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, am I? Look at his reaction, Paisley. The screaming, the tackling, you in a hug, the best gift he's ever received. He said that right in front of me. That moment of pure happiness you bought, that was shared only between you and Tom? I wasn't a part of it. I was just the audience. And you made sure of that. I stared at the last message, the words blurring. Asterisk, that was shared only between you and Tom. Asterisk, she was right. The image of her kneeling on the floor with that jacket in her lap, her face a blank mask. It wasn't anger or jealousy I had seen. It was exclusion. Asterisk, asterisk. Me, asterisk, asterisk. I'm sorry if it made you feel bad. That was honestly not my intention. The reply came back instantly, cold and final. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. That's the problem. You don't have intentions. You just do things because you can, and you never once stop to think about the people you run over. I threw my phone onto the comforter as if it were burning. Liam stirred, cracking an eye open. What's wrong? He mumbled. It's Chloe, I said, my voice shaky. She's pissed. I handed him the phone. He scrolled through the conversation, his brow furrowing. He read the whole thing, then tossed the phone back to me with a dismissive sigh. I told you, he said, rolling onto his back and staring at the ceiling. Total insecurity. Did you even read what she said? I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended. She's not just insecure, Liam. She's saying I was malicious. That I used our money to humiliate her. Which is nuts, he said, turning to face me. You bought your best friend an amazing gift. She's twisting it because she couldn't compete. That's a her problem, not a you problem. She should be happy for Tom, not trying to make you feel like shit. But what if she has a point, I whispered. Maybe it was too much. Maybe I should have thought about how it would look. Since when do you have to run your gifts by your friend's girlfriend? You've been buying Tom birthday presents since you were 5. Don't let her get in your head. She's just trying to stake her claim. He was so sure, so black and white. But all I could feel was a spreading stain of gray. I felt sick. My phone started ringing. Tom's face lit up the screen. I took a deep breath and answered. Paisley, he boomed, his voice crackling with static and pure joy. I'm at the jeweler's right now. The guy says it's 100% authentic and in damn near perfect condition. Can you believe it? Wow, Tom, that's great, I said, trying to inject some enthusiasm into my voice. Great. It's historic. I can't stop looking at it. Seriously, I must have woken up 5 times last night just to open the box and make sure it was real. He paused. Hey, things are a little weird with Chloe this morning. She's being quiet. Did she say anything to you? My stomach plunged. We texted a little? Yeah, I figured. She'll come around, he said, his obliviousness a blunt instrument. She just gets in her head sometimes. Anyway, we should all go out for a proper celebration dinner this week, my treat. To celebrate the watch? To celebrate the very thing that was making his girlfriend miserable. The very thing that had just become a grenade in our friend group. I don't know, Tom, I said slowly. Maybe we should let things cool off. Nah, it'll be fine. It's just a gift. I gotta go. The guy's back. Talk later. And thank you again. Seriously. Best friend ever. He hung up. I dropped the phone and buried my face in my hands. He didn't get it. He didn't see it at all. Chloe was right. The watch, the joy, the entire multi-$1,000 gesture was a world built for two. And she wasn't in it. The next few days were silent. I heard nothing from Chloe. My texts to Tom were met with short, distracted replies. The air felt thick with unspoken things. I tried to push it aside to believe that this was a her problem. On Thursday night, I was scrolling mindlessly through Instagram before bed. And then I saw it. It was a new post from Chloe. A photo. In it, she and Tom were sitting on their couch, beaming. He was laughing, head thrown back, and she was looking at him with pure adoration. He wasn't wearing the watch. He was wearing the denim jacket. Her painting was on full display, the dog, the band logo, the mountains, all of it, a vibrant tapestry of their life together. My blood went cold when I read the caption. Asterisk, so proud of this man on his 25th. Some things just can't be bought. Asterisk. I stared, my thumb frozen over the screen. It was a perfectly crafted, publicly displayed knife slid right between my ribs. It wasn't just a caption. It was a verdict. A narrative. To anyone scrolling by, she was the devoted, thoughtful girlfriend. And her handmade gift was a symbol of true love. And I, without even being named, was cast as the rich, thoughtless outsider who tried to buy her way into a moment that wasn't hers. The likes were flooding in. Dozens of them. From all of our mutual friends. Asterisk. This is beautiful, Chloe. Asterisk. Asterisk. You guys are the cutest. Asterisk. Asterisk. The jacket is incredible. So much better than some store-bought thing. Asterisk. That last comment hit me like a punch to the gut. She hadn't just gotten angry, she'd gotten even. She had taken back the story, painted me as the villain, and hung it up for everyone to see. And all I could do was lie there in the dark watching them all applaud.
Story 3.
The first week was fine. Sort of. Having my daughter Madison back home felt right. She's only 20 and holding her baby girl, my granddaughter Lily, just felt like the proper order of things. A house is supposed to have a baby in it sometimes. But our house had forgotten the language of newborns. It only spoke Ryan. Ryan is 11. He operates at 2 speeds, asleep and tornado. He's got ADHD that his doctor calls profound. I just call it Ryan. It's the way his brain is wired. He's not a bad kid. He's a good kid in a body that won't stop moving, with a mouth that won't stop talking, and a mind that ricochets from one thought to the next like a bullet in a tin can. The first incident was predictable. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Madison shuffled in her face pale and her eyes looking like two burnt holes in a blanket. "Dad." Her voice was a rasp. "You have to talk to him." "Talk to who? What's wrong?" "Ryan," she said, her voice cracking. "He just barreled into my room screaming about some new skin he got on Fortnite." Lily was finally asleep. Asterisk. Finally, asterisk. I sighed. I could already picture it. Ryan vibrating with an excitement he physically couldn't contain, forgetting everything else in the universe, except that one glorious singular thought he needed to share. Time's right now. Asterisk. "Okay, Maddie. I'll talk to him." She just stared at me, her arms crossed tight over a milk-stained t-shirt. A talk isn't going to do anything. He needs a consequence. I'll handle it. I found Ryan in his room, headphones on, body contorting as he dodged imaginary laser fire. I tapped his shoulder. He ripped the headphones off. "Dad, you should have seen it. I got the last guy with a no-scope from the top of the tower. It was insane." "That's great, buddy. Hey, listen. You gotta remember to be quiet. Your niece is sleeping and you woke her up." His face fell for a second. Genuine remorse flickered in his eyes. "Oh, I forgot. Sorry." "It's okay. Just try to remember, all right? Knock first." Quietly. "Okay, Dad. I will." He put his headphones back on, and the world outside of his screen immediately ceased to exist again. I went back downstairs. Madison was waiting, leaning against the counter, her expression unchanged. I talked to him. I said, "Pouring my coffee?" And he said he's sorry. He forgot. Madison let out a laugh that was sharp and humorless. He forgot. Of course he forgot. He's always going to forget, Dad. That's the problem. "Madison, what do you want from me?" I said, my own patience starting to fray. "He has ADHD. His brain doesn't work like yours. He can't help how he behaves. It's not malicious. You of all people should know that." "I'm not saying it's malicious," she shot back, her voice rising. "I'm saying it's disruptive. I'm saying I haven't slept more than 90 minutes at a stretch in 2 weeks, and every time I get her down, he blows it up. I need your help. I need you to be a parent." The jab landed. I am being a parent. To both of my kids. That includes the one who needs a little more understanding. He's your brother. Cut him some slack. She just shook her head, a tear of pure exhaustion rolling down her cheek. "Just try to keep him away from my door. Please." I tried. God, I tried. But telling Ryan to be quiet is like telling the ocean not to have waves. For the next week, it was a constant battle. Ryan, indoor voice. "Ryan, stop running in the hall." "Ryan, for the love of God, don't slam the door." Each time he'd give me that same look of brief, sincere regret. "Sorry, Dad." And 5 minutes later, he'd be bouncing off the walls again, the promise vaporized by the next impulse. Madison started putting a chair under her doorknob. It didn't work. Ryan, thinking the door was just stuck, would jiggle and yank it until the chair scraped across the floor with a screech that was worse than him just opening it. Or he'd just bang on the wood. Maddie, you in there? The internet's down." The noise always woke the baby. The house grew thick with the tension you could taste. Madison stopped talking to me, communicating only in sharp, single-word answers. She looked haunted. Lily was always fussy, now overtired and miserable. Her cries were a constant grating soundtrack in the background of our lives. I felt Madison's anger radiating through the floorboards. And it made me angry too. I was doing my best. I was juggling a sleep-deprived daughter with a newborn and a special needs son. Why couldn't she see I was on her side, on both her sides? She was making it seem like I had to choose. This afternoon, a miracle happened. Silence. Lily had been screaming for 3 solid hours. A painful, colicky shriek that felt like it was drilling into my skull. I watched Madison pace the living room with her bouncing, shushing her face, a mask of desperation. Finally, around 4 o'clock, the crying stopped. Madison stood frozen in the middle of the room for a full minute listening. Then she crept up the stairs with the stealth of a bomb squad technician. I sank into the recliner, the sudden quiet roaring in my ears. I turned on the TV, keeping the volume on a whisper. Ryan was in his room, hopefully engrossed in his game. For the first time all day, I felt my shoulders unclench. Maybe we'd turned a corner. Maybe things would be okay. I closed my eyes just for a second, soaking in the peace. That's when I heard it. A loud, triumphant shout from upstairs. Yes, level up! It was Ryan. His voice, unfiltered and explosive, echoed through the quiet house. It was followed a half-second later by a sound that made every nerve in my body stand on end. The frantic, piercing wail of a startled baby. But there was another sound, too. A sound I'd never heard from my daughter before. It wasn't a cry or a complaint. It was a roar. A gut-wrenching scream of pure, spent fury that was more animal than human. Ryan. The sound of her bedroom door slamming open cracked like a gunshot, so hard I felt the vibration through the floor. The baby's cries pitched higher, mingling with Madison's enraged, incoherent shouting. I heard a thud, then a sharp, hurt yelp from my son. My blood ran cold. I dropped the remote and launched myself out of the chair, my heart pounding against my ribs as I took the stairs 2 at a time. I got to the top of the stairs just as Madison lunged, not at Ryan, but at her own bedroom door, slamming it shut. Ryan was on the floor in the hallway, curled up and sobbing. The baby's screams were now muffled, a desperate, frantic sound from behind the closed door. "What the hell did you do?" I bellowed at the door. I knelt beside Ryan, putting my hands on his shaking shoulders. "Buddy, are you okay? Did she push you?" He looked up at me, his face red and streaked with tears. I just wanted to tell her about the V-Bucks I earned. I forgot to knock." The door flew open again. Madison stood there, a wild look in her eyes. She wasn't holding Lily. He didn't forget to knock, Dad. He forgot he was a person. He kicked the door open because the chair was under the knob and screamed in his loudest voice 2 feet from her bassinet. On purpose. It wasn't on purpose, Ryan wailed. It was an accident. I stood up, putting myself between Madison and my son. I pointed a finger at her. I don't care what he did. Look at him. There's no excuse for making your brother cry like that. None. Her mouth fell open. It was a look of pure, unadulterated disbelief. No excuse. Are you listening to yourself? He's a little terror he needs to learn, but you won't ever teach him because it's easier to just let him run wild and call it ADHD. Don't you dare, I said, my voice dangerously low. Don't you dare use his condition against him. You have no idea what it's like for him, the battles he fights in his own head every single second. And you have no idea what it's like for me, she screamed, tears finally breaking free and carving paths through her makeup. I'm drowning, Dad, and instead of throwing me a life raft, you're holding my head underwater to make sure your precious son doesn't get his feet wet. That's when I snapped. The exhaustion, the constant noise, her ingratitude, it all boiled over. My precious son, you mean the one who was here long before you decided to show up on my doorstep with a baby and nowhere else to go? You knew what this house was like. You knew who Ryan was. If you couldn't handle your brother, maybe you should have thought of that 9 months ago? The words hung in the air, ugly and heavy. The wildness in her eyes died, replaced by something colder, sharper. Something I'd never seen before. So this is a punishment, she said, her voice flat. For needing my father. This isn't a punishment, this is reality. This is my house. Ryan lives here, and I will not have him treated like a villain because his brain is wired differently. If you can't deal with that, I said the final fatal words, tumbling out before I could stop them, then you can get out. For a long moment, she just stared at me. The baby's cries from inside the room were the only sound. Madison didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just nodded, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement. Then she turned, walked back into her room, and closed the door behind her with a soft, final click. I stood in the hallway, my heart hammering. I got Ryan up and took him to his room, told him it wasn't his fault that Maddie was just tired. He sniffled and booted up his game, the crisis already fading from his mind. I went downstairs, my hands still shaking with adrenaline. I felt a surge of righteousness. I had defended my son. The one who couldn't defend himself. Madison was an adult. She'd get over it. She'd realize she was wrong to scream at a kid, her own brother. She'd come down and apologize. I poured a glass of whiskey, sank into my recliner, and waited for the apology that was surely coming. An hour passed. The only sound was the clicking of Ryan's keyboard upstairs. The baby had finally, blessedly gone quiet. Then I heard it. Not shouting, not crying. A different sound. The methodical scrape of a drawer opening. A soft thud. Another drawer. It was the sound of packing. I sat up straight, the whiskey souring in my stomach. She was bluffing. Just trying to make me feel guilty. It was petty. It was manipulative. I wasn't going to fall for it. But the sounds continued. The distinct zip of a duffel bag. The muffled click of hangers being pulled from a closet rod. I went to the bottom of the stairs. Madison, I called up. No answer. Maddie, don't be dramatic. Silence. My righteousness began to curdle into a sick, creeping dread. I walked up the stairs and stood in her open doorway. Suitcases I hadn't seen in years were open on her bed. She was folding tiny onesies and sleepers into neat stacks, her movements calm and deliberate. She didn't look at me. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice weaker than I intended. She picked up a stack of diapers and placed them in a bag. "Madison, stop this. You're overreacting. We can talk about this." She zipped a bag shut and slung it over her shoulder. Then she picked up another. She moved past me out of the room, as if I were a piece of furniture. I followed her downstairs, my feet feeling like lead. She set the bags by the front door. "Where are you going to go?" I demanded. "It's almost dark." "Don't be stupid." She ignored me, heading back upstairs. I heard her moving around then. She came back down holding Lily's car seat in one hand. The baby was asleep inside a tiny, perfect bundle, oblivious. My chest tightened. This wasn't a bluff. "Maddie, please," I said, my voice cracking. "Don't do this." She stopped at the front door and finally looked at me. The coldness in her eyes struck me like a physical blow. All the warmth, all the love, all the history between us, it was gone. Erased. In its place was the cool, polite disinterest you give a stranger who'd held the door for you. "You were right," she said, her voice completely devoid of emotion. "I shouldn't have come here. It was a mistake to think this was a place for her. Or for me." She turned the doorknob. "You made your choice, Dad," she said, not looking back. "You chose who needed you more. Now live with it." Then she was gone. The door clicked shut behind her, and a moment later I heard the engine of her beat-up Civic turn over. I watched through the window as her taillights disappeared down the street. The house was silent. Utterly, completely silent. Ryan appeared at the top of the stairs, a shadow in the dim hallway light. Is Maddie gone? He asked, his voice small. Is she still mad at me? I stared at the empty space by the door, where my granddaughter's car seat had been just moments before. I had won. I had protected my son. I had established the rules of my house. And in the crushing, deafening silence, I realized my victory felt exactly like losing everything.
Story 4.
I'm 45 years old. For the last 2 decades, I've built something most people only dream about. But that night, standing in the grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel, while my wife celebrated her promotion, I realized I'd been living a lie. Adelaide looked stunning in an emerald dress. Our kids weren't there. Ashur and Ava, our 16-year-old twins, were at a school event. Owen and Ellie were with my sister. It's an adult evening, Adelaide had said. No need to bore them with corporate speeches. I arrived early against her wishes. She wanted me there at 9. I came at 7, slipping through the service entrance. Call it intuition. Call it the sick feeling I'd been carrying for months. Whatever it was, it saved me from complete blindness. I positioned myself behind a decorative pillar near the bar. Nobody noticed me. To everyone at Summit Manufacturing, I was Adelaide's husband, the warehouse guy, who moved boxes and swept floors. They had no idea those warehouses were mine. They had no idea Summit Manufacturing itself was mine. Austin Hampton took the stage around 8:51 years old. Silver hair, $1,000 suit. He commanded attention without effort. He was the CEO, though he didn't know I was his boss. Ladies and gentlemen, Austin began, his voice smooth. Tonight we celebrate Adelaide Shefford, our new director of operations. Applause filled the room. Adelaide beamed. In 7 years, Austin said, she's revolutionized production and increased profit margins by 42%. But what impresses me most is her determination to succeed despite significant challenges at home. My stomach tightened. Where was he going with this? Austin circled the podium. While we go home to supportive partners who understand our careers, Adelaide goes home to someone who will. He paused for effect. Let's just say her husband is simple. He's a warehouse worker with no education. Sweet guy, apparently, but not exactly intellectually stimulating. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Adelaide didn't stop him.
Adelaide?
She didn't defend me. Adelaide took the microphone. Austin, you're terrible, she said, laughing. But yes, Ryan means well. But the truth is, he's holding me back. Coming home from days like this and having to explain everything in simple terms is exhausting. The room nodded. Sympathetic murmurs spread. They understood. To them, I was beneath her. I stepped out from behind the pillar. My footsteps echoed on the polished floor. People noticed me halfway there, confused looks. Who is this? Someone muttered. Adelaide saw me when I was 10 feet away. Her face went white. Austin looked annoyed. I climbed the 3 steps to the stage and took the microphone from Adelaide's frozen hand. Hi, I said, my voice steady. I'm Ryan Shefford, the warehouse worker, the guy with no education who's holding my wife back. The room fell silent. You could hear people breathing. It was quite a speech, Austin, I continued. Really moving. But here's what's funny. That company you all work for is Summit Manufacturing, the one that just promoted my wife. I own it, every warehouse, every factory, every single share. Oh, that's mine. Absolute silence. Then Adelaide laughed, a short, sharp sound of panic. Ryan, that's not, she began. No dash, I said. Shefford Industries. Founded by my grandfather in 1962, I'm the majority shareholder. Austin here? He's my employee. You all are. Austin's face drained gray. Mr. Shefford, I had no idea. He stammered. Of course you didn't. For 20 years, I pretended to be someone I was not. I lived small so my wife could feel big. And this is how that story ends. I set the microphone down and walked off the stage. The crowd parted like water. Behind me, I heard Adelaide start to cry. I heard Austin stammering apologies. I didn't look back. I kept walking out of that ballroom, out of that hotel, out of the life I'd been living. I didn't go home. I couldn't. The thought of walking into that house, looking at photos of Adelaide and me, smiling like we were happy, made my stomach turn. I drove north on Highway 87, windows down. Despite the October chill, I let the cold air clear my head. My phone started ringing around 9:30. Adelaide, of course. Then again. I watched it light up on the passenger seat, her photo from a Hawaii vacation 2 years earlier. Had she been lying then? How long had I been the joke? Around 10, I pulled into a rest stop and stared at nothing. A semi rumbled past, its red taillights disappearing into darkness. My phone buzzed. Different number this time. It was my sister Claire. Ryan, what the hell did you just do? She said. It's all over social media. Someone posted video from the party. It's trending. Of course, someone filmed it. Everything gets filmed now. I told Claire where I was. She said, come to my place. You shouldn't be alone. She was right. Claire had always been the practical one. I agreed. I turned my phone on and found the video. There I was, walking onto the stage. Adelaide's face white. Psst. My calm voice delivering the truth like a hammer. It had 200,000 views already. The comments were brutal. Half the people called Adelaide every name in the book. The other half claimed I was a liar or that the whole thing was staged. A few called me a hero. Most wanted more drama. I drove to Claire's house in Ridgefield. She hugged me without saying anything. Dave made chili. We sat. I started talking. I told them everything from the beginning. No more secrets. Not anymore. By morning, my phone was a mess. 73 missed calls. It's 216 texts. Over 500 unread emails. Reporters. Business associates. And the kids. Asher had called 4 times. My chest tightened. I called him back. Dad, where are you? He asked. Mom's freaking out. There's stuff online saying you own Summit Manufacturing. Is it true? It is, I said. Silence on the line. You've been lying to us, Asher said finally. Not lying, I tried, just not telling the whole truth. I wanted you to grow up normal, to understand the value of work. I didn't want money to make you entitled. Ava's voice was flat. Dad, we're 16. We could have handled knowing the truth. I needed to go to the house first. Adelaide should be at work by 10. I wanted to get some things. Dave offered to come. I refused. This was something I had to do alone. The house looked exactly the same. Photos on the wall, vacations, birthdays, all the moments I thought were real. In Adelaide's shoe closet, behind winter boots, I found a shoebox. Inside were letters dozens, of them handwritten on Summit Manufacturing letterhead. From Austin to Adelaide, love notes, plans, dates. The first was 3 years old. The last was 2 weeks ago. Soon we won't have to hide. They'd been doing this for 3 years. I took the box. I met Asher and Ava for lunch at Morrison's Diner at noon. They were pointed, serious. They wanted answers. I apologized for how they found out. I explained why I'd hidden the truth. Tried to be honest. It didn't fix everything. That evening, I hired a private investigator, Michael Warren. He tracked Adelaide and Austin meeting at the Riverside every Thursday for 3 years. He found hotel receipts. Found an offshore account receiving monthly $20,000 deposits. The account name shocked me. It was Adelaide Shefford's embezzlement. Fraud. Over 2 years, it added up to close to $500,000. Worse, Warren found communications about restructuring Summit, plans to push out key personnel and install loyalists. A takeover in slow motion. I had proof of adultery, embezzlement, and conspiracy. I could have destroyed Adelaide professionally and sent her to prison, but the fallout would scar the kids forever. Still, I needed to know one thing. Were Owen and Ellie mine? I had to be sure. DNA tests were arranged discreetly. Results in 5 days. Then Brett Hamilton, Adelaide's brother, arrived at Claire's. He told me Adelaide had recruited him too. Years earlier, to report on production issues and personnel that could justify restructuring. He'd seen them together 6 months ago in Cleveland. He'd been threatened to keep quiet. 3 days later, the DNA results arrived. Asher. 99.9% probability of paternity. Ava. 99.9%. Owen, 0%. Ellie. 0%. Owen and Ellie weren't biologically mine. I read the numbers 3 times. The room swam.
How?
Claire found me 20 minutes later. "Ryan, I'm so sorry," she whispered. I called everyone together. Adelaide was in the living room with the kids when I walked in for the first time since the party. She glared. "What's this about, Ryan?" she snapped. "Just listen," I said. I showed them the DNA results. Asher and Ava are my biological children. Owen and Ellie are not. The silence was deafening. Owen looked at me, confused. "What are you saying?" he asked. I told him the truth. Austin Hampton was his biological father, and Ellie's too. Ellie started crying. Asher and Ava stared at their mother with disgust. "How could you?" Ava demanded. "How could you do this to them?" "To Dad," Adelaide screamed. "That I had no right to do this. That I had ruined everything by digging." I told them about the letters, the offshore accounts, the plans. She denied it at first. I had documentation. 3 days later, Owen took Mom's car. He crashed into a guardrail on Route 9. He was rushed to Mercy Hospital with a broken leg, a concussion, and a ruptured spleen. I was at the ER before I knew what I was doing. I sat in recovery holding Owen's hand. He was bruised and scared. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said. "I wasn't trying to crash. I just needed to get away." "You're my son," I said. "DNA doesn't define that. Love does. I chose to be your father every day for 12 years. That doesn't stop now." Sighed. Adelaide waited. She wanted to see him. I told her to stay away until he was ready. The next day, I filed criminal charges: embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. The district attorney took the case seriously. Austin's lawyer reached out. He wanted to meet. We met at a coffee shop. Austin looked terrible. He handed me a flash drive with account numbers, passwords, and transaction histories. He said Adelaide had cut him out and taken control of the offshore money. He'd been sleeping with her and stealing from me. But he also admitted he knew Owen and Ellie were his children. Adelaide had lied to him too. I gave the flash drive to my lawyers. They froze Adelaide's accounts. She called me screaming. "That money is mine," she cried. "You're going to need a good lawyer." She refused to settle. She planned to paint me as controlling and abusive. Her lawyer put together witnesses, colleagues, a therapist. Even Brethu would say I was distant or controlling. The trial began 6 months after the party. My lawyers presented the letters, the offshore accounts, and the evidence of a conspiracy. The turning point came when they called Owen to the stand. My 12-year-old son walked to the witness box. Under oath, he said he'd seen Austin and Adelaide together as a child. He'd kept the secret because his mother told him to. The jury listened. They didn't look at Adelaide with sympathy. They looked at her with disgust. 3 days later, the verdict came back. Adelaide was found guilty of embezzlement and fraud. She received a sentence that ultimately led to 2 years with full restitution. Austin got 3 years. The divorce settlement gave me primary custody of all 4 kids. Adelaide got supervised visitation and had to repay the stolen money. Leaving the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. I put my arm around Owen. "Are you okay?" He asked. "I'm okay, buddy," I said. "You did great. You told the truth." In the months that followed, we rebuilt. The kids healed slowly. Owen saw a therapist. Ellie took longer to process things. Asher and Ava started looking forward. Ava got into Cornell to study engineering. Asher talked about business school and maybe coming to work at Summit someday. 14 months after the party, I stood in the new Summit manufacturing headquarters in Cleveland. We had moved operations from New York for a fresh start. Brett Hamilton was now a production supervisor. He'd apologized for his role and worked hard to earn back trust. The assembly lines were running at 98% efficiency. Things were better. Adelaide was out of prison early for good behavior. She asked if the kids would visit her. Asher and Ava said, "Maybe someday." Owen and Ellie said, "Not yet." Owen had chosen to keep me as his father. Ellie was healing. That night at home in the new house I bought 6 months earlier, We celebrated Ava's acceptance with Chinese food and laughter. Normal family chaos, just what I'd wanted. After the kids went to bed, Claire found me on the back porch. "You did it," she said. "You protected them. You survived." For the first time in 20 years, I could be Ryan Shefford. No secret. No lie. Just me. Months later, I got a message from a literacy program in Bradford. "We heard you moved to Cleveland. Would you like to volunteer?" They asked. Teaching adults to read. Helping immigrants with citizenship tests. The work I used to do in New York. I smiled and wrote back, "When can I start?" Because that work, helping people, making a difference, using my resources for good, that was who I really was. Not the billionaire. Not the wronged husband. Just Ryan. The secrets were gone. The lies were over. And for the first time in 20 years, I was finally myself.
Story 5. 5 years. That's a long time. It's long enough to build a life, to merge your friends, to know someone's coffee order by heart. For me and Claire, it was long enough to survive the break. A year ago, we hit a rough patch. We took a month apart to figure things out. I figured out I was miserable without her. She figured things out with Mark, a senior designer at her firm. She swore it was nothing, just a mistake born from confusion. A trauma bond over a stressful project, she'd called it. I believed her. Or I wanted to. We got back together. And for a year, things were good. Almost perfect. But the name Mark always hung in the air, a ghost at our dinner table. "Hey babe," I said, walking in from the gym. "You still on for dinner tonight?" I was thinking that new Italian place. Claire was on the couch, laptop open, brow furrowed. She didn't look up. "Oh hey. About that. I can't. I'm so sorry." My stomach dropped just a little. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, it's just... work is insane. They just moved a deadline up on the Henderson project. I'm going to be chained to this desk all night." She finally looked at me, her face a mask of practiced exhaustion. "We'll do it this weekend, I promise." "Okay," I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. "Need me to bring you anything?" "No, I'm good. I'll just order something in." "Love you." "Love you too." I spent the next 2 hours reheating leftover chili and scrolling aimlessly through my phone. It felt pathetic. A Friday night alone, picturing her drowning in architectural blueprints. Then I saw it. A post from Sarah, one of her work friends. A group photo, a big celebratory lunch. The caption read, "Finally celebrating the Henderson project wrap-up. So proud of this team." And there in the back of the shot, tucked into a corner booth, was Claire. She was laughing, her head tilted just so. Sitting across from her, leaning in so close their shoulders were almost touching, was Mark. My chili turned to ash in my mouth. It wasn't a meeting. It wasn't a last-minute deadline. It was a celebration. A victory lap. A lunch she lied about to have with him. My thumb hovered over her contact photo. Call her. Scream. Demand an explanation. But what was the point? She'd just spin another story. I'd seen it before. The denial, the deflections, the way she could twist words until I was the one apologizing for being suspicious. Not this time. I needed proof she couldn't talk her way out of. The restaurant in the photo was Cafe Monet, a trendy little spot downtown. I checked their Instagram page. Nothing. I checked the page of everyone tagged in Sarah's photo. And then I found it. Another picture posted by some junior designer I didn't know. It was a candid shot of close-up. It was just the two of them, Claire and Mark. They were sharing a tiramisu, a single spoon halfway to her lips. His hand was resting on the table just inches from hers. The look on his face wasn't friendly. It wasn't professional. It was the same look he'd probably given her a year ago during the break. The look of a man who knew he was winning. My blood ran cold. The air in my apartment felt thick. Unbreathable. 5 years. All the promises, all the I love yous, all the plans we'd made. How much of it was real? The insecurity that had been a quiet hum in the back of my mind for a year was now a screaming siren. I grabbed my keys. My hands were shaking so hard. It took me 2 tries to get the key in the ignition. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to see her face when she saw the picture. I had to watch the lies fall apart in real time. The 20-minute drive to her apartment felt like an eternity in a split second all at once. Every red light was a personal insult. Every slow driver a test of my sanity. I replayed the last year in my head. Every time she'd worked late. Every time she'd been vague about her plans. Every time she'd said, "Mark is just a friend, you have to trust me." Trust. The word tasted like poison. I pulled up across the street from her building. Her lights were on. I pictured her on the couch, maybe texting him, telling him what a great time she had. Telling him how she'd expertly handled me. The thought made me want to punch the steering wheel. I took a deep breath, the air rattling in my lungs. I unlocked my phone, the picture of her and Mark glowing on the screen. It was my only weapon, my only piece of undeniable truth. I put the car in park but left the engine running. This was it. There was no coming back from this. I was about to set fire to 5 years of my life. And God help me, I couldn't wait to watch it burn. I killed the engine. The silence was deafening. My own ragged breathing filled the car as I walked to her door, phone clutched in my hand like a rock. I didn't knock. I used my key. She was on the couch just as I'd pictured, phone glowing in her lap. She jumped when the door opened. "Hudson, God, you scared me. I told you I was working." I didn't say a word. I just walked over, held my phone out, and tilted the screen toward her. The picture of her and Mark sharing that deserted universe of intimacy between them. Her eyes flicked from the screen to my face. The mask of practiced exhaustion slipped, replaced by a flicker of pure panic. Oh. That. It was a team thing. Just a celebration for the Henderson Project. This isn't the team, Claire. My voice was flat dead. This is you and him. After you lied to me. I didn't lie. She snapped, her voice rising. Plans changed. It was a last-minute thing. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You're being paranoid. Paranoid. The word came out as a hollow laugh. I looked around the apartment we had practically shared for 5 years. Her things, my things, our things. It all felt like a movie set. So you canceling on me and having lunch with the man you cheated on me with is just a coincidence. It wasn't like that. You're twisting this to fit your narrative because you've never trusted me since the break. She was actually shouting now. Trying to flip it. Make it my fault. My insecurity. My paranoia. It was her signature move. But the picture on my phone was an anchor holding me to reality. I wouldn't be gaslit again. I just stared at her, letting her words hang in the air and rot. I watched her face crumble when she realized it wasn't working. "I'm done," I said. It was the quietest thing I'd said all night, but it landed like a bomb. I turned and walked out, leaving my key on the little table by the door. I didn't slam it. I closed it softly behind me, the final click echoing like a gunshot. The next morning, I woke up to a world of digital silence. Her contact photo on my phone was a gray anonymous silhouette. My last text, a single blue checkmark. Delivered but not read. I went to Instagram. User not found. Facebook the same. Blocked. Wiped clean from her digital life as if the last 5 years were a corrupted file. A cold, sick dread pooled in my stomach. I grabbed my laptop and logged into an old forgotten gaming account on Facebook. I searched her name. Her profile popped right up. Public and proud. And there it was, posted 2 hours ago. A new profile picture of her. And Mark smiling. And right below it, the relationship status she'd always refused to use with me. In a relationship with Mark Peterson. I dry heaved into the toilet. The betrayal was so absolute, so ruthlessly efficient, it felt like a physical assault. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I just sat in the dark, scrolling through years of our photos, trying to pinpoint the exact moment I became a fool. After a week of this self-inflicted torture, I typed a desperate, pathetic plea into a Reddit relationship forum. The advice was swift and unanimous. Go scorched earth. No contact. It's the only way. It felt impossible, like amputating a limb. But they were right. I spent the next hour blocking her. Then I blocked Mark. Then Sarah. Then her sister. Her mom, her cousins, her 20 closest friends. Digital massacre. My friend Dave, bless his heart, went over to her place with 2 garbage bags of her stuff and came back with a box of mine. He didn't say a word, just put a beer in my hand. 2 days later, a message request popped up on Instagram from a blank profile. No picture, 0 posts. It was her. This is the cruelest, ugliest way you could have possibly handled this. You have no idea the damage you're doing. I screenshotted it, sent it to Dave with the caption, LOL, and then blocked the account without a reply. It was the hardest and best thing I'd ever done. Months passed. The silence worked its magic. The gaping wound in my chest slowly began to scar over. I started working out again. I saw my friends. I started to feel like myself. Then my dad got sick. It was fast. A sudden, brutal cancer that took him from us in 6 weeks. The world stopped. The grief was a fog, thick and choking. In the middle of funeral arrangements and sitting with my weeping mother, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my sister. It was a screenshot. A message from Claire to my mom. Dearest Carol, I was so devastated to hear about Richard. He was such a wonderful man. I know you must be going through hell. I'd love to come to the service to pay my respects and offer my support. Mark would be happy to come with me if that's okay. We just want to be there for you. The audacity. The sheer predatory nerve of it. Using my father's death, my mother's grief, as a crowbar to pry her way back into my life. With him. For support. rage cold and pure cut through my grief. This wasn't a showdown. This was a pest control problem. I called an emergency family meeting with my mom and sister. She is not to be acknowledged. I said, my voice shaking with a control I didn't feel. If she messages you again, you don't reply. If you see her at the funeral home, you look right through her. She doesn't exist. They agreed instantly, their own shock and disgust overriding their grief for a moment. I then texted my 5 closest friends, the ones serving as pallbearers. I sent them the screenshot and a simple instruction. If you see this woman or her boyfriend, you are my personal security. They are not to get within 50 feet of me or my family. No scenes. Just a wall. She never showed. Maybe someone warned her. Maybe she lost her nerve. The thought of her being silently, politely, but firmly turned away by my friends at my father's funeral was a small, grim comfort. A few weeks later, Dave sent me a YouTube link. The title was something like, "Girlfriend cheats, lies, then tries to crash ex's dad's funeral." It was one of those Reddit story narration channels. Someone had taken my post and turned it into a video. It had 2,000,000 views. Apparently, one of her distant cousins saw it, recognized the story, and shared it in the extended family group chat. From there, it went nuclear. My phone lit up with messages from numbers I didn't recognize, her friends. "You're a monster for airing her dirty laundry like that. She made a mistake, you didn't have to ruin her reputation. This smear campaign is pathetic." I read them, a strange sense of calm washing over me. They were just words from a world I no longer lived in. I blocked them all. A year to the day after I walked out of her apartment, an email landed in my inbox. The subject line was just my name. It was a novel. A long, rambling, self-serving apology. She wrote about her fear of commitment, how our love was so real it scared her. She wrote about how Mark was pressuring her to move and how he didn't really get her. How he wasn't as smart or as funny as I was. It was a masterclass in non-apology, blaming everything but herself. A year ago, I would have sold my soul to receive that email. I would have read it and wept the validation as soothing balm on my shattered ego. But I wasn't that person anymore. I was sitting on a couch beside a woman named Anna, her head resting on my shoulder as we watched some stupid movie. She was kind and honest, and she made me laugh. She knew my story. She'd held my hand through the grief of losing my dad. She was real. I read Claire's pathetic, desperate words, felt the ghost of a pain I used to know, and then I felt nothing. A complete and total indifference. It was like reading a weather report from a city I'd never visit again. I hit delete. The email vanished. Anna looked up at me. "Everything okay?" I smiled, leaned over and kissed her. "Everything's perfect." Story 6.
I'll never forget the look on my sister's face when she introduced us to Rich. It was pure, unadulterated desperation disguised as bliss. She'd been a single mom for years, and I guess she saw Rich and his 2 kids as a prepackaged solution. A perfect nuclear family, just add water. "Isn't this wonderful, Mark?" she'd gushed, pulling my 8-year-old nephew Luca into a group hug with Rich's sullen offspring. A real family. I looked at Rich's kids, Chloe and Mason, who were maybe 12 and 14. They were staring at Luca like he was a cockroach who'd just crawled into their cereal bowl. Luca just buried his face in his mom's side. Wonderful wasn't the word I would have used. The wedding was a blur of bad champagne and forced smiles. I spent the whole time watching Luca. He tried, I'll give him that. He tried to talk to his new step-siblings, tried to join their games. They'd just turn their backs on him, whispering to each other and snickering. Gwen, my sister, didn't see it. Or she didn't want to. She was too busy gazing at Rich, convinced she'd finally won the lottery. The first real alarm bell went off about 3 months later. I was killing time at the mall when I saw him. Luca. He was curled up on a bench by the big fountain, his small shoulders shaking. Luca, hey buddy, what's wrong? He looked up, his face blotchy and streaked with tears. Chloe and Mason told me to count all the pennies in the water, he whispered. They said it was a contest and they'd be right back. My blood ran cold. I'd been at the mall for nearly an hour. How long ago was that, buddy? He just shrugged, a fresh sob catching in his throat. I called Gwen. She was frantic, of course, but the second I told her Luca had been with his new siblings, her tone shifted. It became defensive. Annealed. When I brought Luca back to their new perfect house, Gwen met me at the door. Rich stood behind her arms, crossed, looking like a disapproving statue. He's fine, Mark. Thank you for finding him. She said it like Luca had just wandered off, like he'd misplaced himself. Gwen, they left him there, I said, keeping my voice low. On purpose. He was terrified. Don't be so dramatic, she snapped. They're kids. They got distracted. Rich had a very serious talk with them. It won't happen again. Rich gave a single, solemn nod from his post on the couch. A serious talk. Case closed. I wanted to shake her to scream times, "Are you blind times?" But Luca was standing right there looking at the floor, and I didn't want to make it worse. So I just left the knot in my stomach pulled tight. It happened again, of course. And again. Each time a new excuse. A new variation of kids will be kids. Years melted away. Luca grew taller, but also quieter. He built a wall around himself, and I was the only one he ever let inside. My apartment was his refuge. We'd build Legos, play video games, and for a few hours he'd almost seem like a normal kid. Then he'd have to go home, and I'd see the light in his eyes just switch off. One Saturday he called me. He was 10. His voice was small and shaky. "Uncle Mark, can you come get me?" "Where are you, Luca?" "The park. By the river." There was a pause. "Please don't tell Mom I called you." I was there in 10 minutes. It was the same story, different setting. A game of hide and seek. They'd looked everywhere for him, then just gave up and went home. Left him there. A nice woman walking her dog had let him use her phone. On the drive back, I asked him why he didn't want me to tell his mom. He just stared out the passenger window, his reflection a sad, pale mask. "She'll just get mad," he mumbled. At me? That was it for me. I dropped him at the front door, and when Gwen answered, I didn't wait for an invitation. I walked right in. "I just picked your son up from the park, Gwen." He was abandoned. Again. Her face hardened. "Why didn't he call us?" "Because he's scared of you," the words exploded out of me. "He's scared you'll blame him. He's scared of what Rich will do. This has to stop." "You are always trying to ruin this for me," she shrieked, her hands balled into fists. "You have no right to come into my house and criticize my husband and my family." "Your family is emotionally torturing your son," I said, my voice dangerously low. "And you are letting them. He needs a mother who will actually protect him." That was the last time we had a real conversation for almost a year. We'd see each other at holidays, these tense, miserable affairs where we'd all pretend for my parents' sake. Now Luca is 13. He's a ghost. He barely speaks. He just exists in the corners of rooms, head down, hoodie up. We're at my parents' for the 4th of July barbecue. The whole miserable cast is here. Gwen and Rich are holding hands by the grill. Chloe and Mason are lounging on patio chairs, scrolling through their phones. And Luke is sitting on the bottom step of the porch alone, staring at an ant crawling across the stone. Hey, Mason says, walking over and clapping Luca on the back hard enough to make him jolt. We're going down to the creek to set off some M80S. You coming, loser? Luca looks up a flicker of something, hope, fear in his eyes. He glances at me. I give him a subtle shake of my head. Asterisk. Don't go. Asterisk. But Gwen sees the exchange. Oh, go on, sweetie, she calls out, her voice syrupy sweet. Go have fun with your brother and sister. She calls them that. Asterisk, brother and sister. Asterisk. It's like a knife twisting in my gut every single time. Luca gets up and follows them into the woods behind the house. I watch him go, feeling utterly helpless. An hour passes. Then, too, the sun dips below the trees. Neighborhood fireworks start popping in the distance. Then I see them. Chloe and Mason strolling out of the woods, laughing, their faces illuminated by their phones. They're alone. My chair scrapes against the patio stone as I stand. Where's Luca? Chloe rolls her eyes, not even looking up. How should I know? He wandered off or something. He's probably hiding to get attention, Mason adds, grabbing a can of soda from the cooler. Gwen waves a dismissive hand from across the yard. He'll turn up, Mark. Relax. You're going to give yourself an ulcer. I know. In the pit of my stomach, I know. I'm about to march into those woods myself when my phone buzzes. A local number I don't recognize. I answer it, my heart hammering against my ribs. Hello. A woman's voice rushed and panicked. Hello, I'm so sorry. I got your number off the emergency tag on his keychain. I found a boy down by the old quarry. He's soaking wet and shaking. He says his name is Luca. The quarry. That's 5 miles from here. Through dense dark woods. He said, the woman's voice cracks thick with pity. He said his brother and sister told him it was a shortcut home, and then they pushed him in. The world dissolved into a high-pitched ringing. Where are you? I managed my voice as strangers. She gave me the address, and I was in my car before I even hung up, leaving a chorus of confused questions from my family behind me. I found him huddled in the back of a stranger's minivan, wrapped in a pink fleece blanket, shivering so hard his teeth chattered. He wasn't just wet. He was covered in mud and green scum, smelling of stagnant water. His eyes were huge and vacant. The kind woman explained what happened, her voice trembling with rage on my behalf. I just nodded, scooped Luca into my arms. He felt so light, so fragile, and carried him to my car. I didn't say a word. There were no words. There was only a cold, hard certainty settling in my bones, solid as granite. I drove straight to my apartment. I didn't even glance at my parents' house as I passed. I got Luca into a hot shower, dressed him in my softest sweatshirt, and sat him on the couch with a mug of hot chocolate while I called my lawyer. Then I drove to Gwen's. She met me at the door, her face a mask of practiced concern. Mark, where have you been? We were getting worried. Is Luca with you? He is, I said, stepping past her into the sterile foyer. Rich was on the couch watching TV. His kids were nowhere to be seen. He's at my apartment. He's going to be staying there for a while. Gwen's face tightened. What are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous. Bring him home. I'm talking about the quarry, Gwen. I'm talking about your perfect stepkids pushing your son into 5 feet of freezing, filthy water and leaving him there to die. Rich muted the television. Gwen paled. That's not what happened. Chloe and Mason said he slipped. They got scared and ran for help. The lie was so bald, so pathetic, it didn't even make me angry. It just made me tired. No, they didn't. They told a stranger they didn't know where he was. They came back to the party and grabbed a soda. I'm done, Gwen. This is over. "What is over?" Rich said, finally getting off the couch. He tried to use his height to intimidate me, standing a little too close. I didn't even look at him. I looked at my sister. The pretending. "I'm filing for custody. Emergency custody to start. Luca is not setting foot in this house again." Gwen laughed. A sharp, ugly sound. "You can't be serious. You can't take my son away from me. He's times my son asterisk." "Then you should have acted like it," I said, turning and walking out the door. "He'll be hearing from my lawyer." The fight was uglier than I could have imagined. It was a smear campaign. I was unstable. I was jealous. I was trying to sabotage her marriage. Gwen and Rich threw every piece of mud they could manufacture. But they had one major problem: Luca. The court assigned a child psychologist, a gentle woman with kind eyes named Dr. Alvey. After just 3 sessions with Luca, she submitted her report. I read it in my lawyer's office, and the words on the page felt like punches to the gut. Asterisk. Major depressive disorder. Generalized anxiety. Severe self-esteem issues stemming from a prolonged hostile home environment and perceived maternal neglect. Asterisk. Perceived maternal neglect. It was the most clinical, brutal way of saying his own mother had let this happen. The judge read the key findings aloud in the courtroom. Gwen sat ramrod straight, staring forward, her knuckles white where she gripped Rich's hand. She didn't look at me. She didn't look at the judge. She just stared at the wall as if trying to will a different reality into existence. When the judge said the words "custody is hereby granted to the petitioner, Mr. Mark Jensen," a sound escaped her, a tiny strangled gasp. I felt nothing. No triumph, no joy. Just a profound, aching relief. It was done. He was safe. The change in Luca was almost immediate. It was slow at first, like a plant turning toward the sun. He started sleeping through the night. He started talking at the dinner table, telling me about his day. One afternoon, I came home from work to find him in the living room with 2 friends from school laughing at some stupid video on his phone. The sound of his real, unguarded laughter hit me so hard I had to duck into the kitchen just to catch my breath. He was healing. He was thriving. About 6 months later, I ran into Gwen at the grocery store. I was in the cereal aisle trying to remember if Luca liked the one with marshmallows or not when I heard her voice. "Well, I hope you're happy?" I turned. She looked haggard. The perfect blonde hair was brassy and there were deep lines around her mouth I'd never seen before. "I am," I said simply. "Luca's happy. That's all that matters." "You ruined my family," she hissed, her voice low and venomous. "You tore it apart. Rich's kids feel terrible. You've put them through so much." I stared at her. I waited for her to mention Luca, to ask how he was to show 1 ounce of concern for the son she had lost. She didn't. It was all about her. Her family. Her husband. Her pain. The years of frustration of biting my tongue, of watching her willingly sacrifice her son on the altar of her own desperation, it all boiled over. "I didn't ruin your family, Gwen. You never had one. You had a fantasy, and you were willing to let Luca drown in it as long as you got to keep pretending." My voice was quiet, but it cut through the hum of the freezer cases. He was a little boy who needed his mom to protect him, and you chose a man you barely knew instead. You failed him. At every turn, you failed him. Luca deserved a better mom than you. Something in her broke. Her face crumpled, and she started sobbing right there next to the Cheerios. "How could you say that to me?" she wailed, turning and fleeing down the aisle. The fallout was predictable. My parents called that night. My dad, quiet and grim, said, You did what you had to do, son. My mom, crying softly, said she needed to hear it, Mark, even if it was cruel. But my other sister, Sarah, called an hour later, furious. Was that really necessary to kick her when she's down? She's your sister? Luke is my nephew, I'd said. Someone had to finally choose him. I'm sorry, it had to be me. A week later, I got an email from Gwen. The subject line was simply, I don't understand. The email was a long, rambling mess of self-pity. It was all about how hard she'd tried, how much she'd sacrificed to give Luca a real family, how I'd always been jealous, how I had manipulated a troubled boy and turned him against his own mother. It ended with a single line that told me everything I needed to know. Asterisk. I just wanted us all to be happy, and you took that away from me. Asterisk. Not times from us, asterisk. Not times from Luca, asterisk. From times me, asterisk. I deleted the email without replying. I walked into the living room where Luca was sketching in a notebook, the evening light catching the dust motes dancing in the air. He looked up and gave me a small, genuine smile. And I knew with a certainty that settled deep in my soul that I had done the right thing.
Story 7. The call came on a Tuesday. I was trying to figure out why our Wi-Fi was suddenly moving at the speed of a stone sloth when my phone buzzed with Sarah's face on the screen. I answered. He did it, she shrieked, her voice a firecracker of pure joy. He actually did it. It took me a second. He asked. Yes. On a boat. With a string quartet playing that one sappy Ed Sheeran song, I'm Getting Married, Vin. I grinned. That's awesome, Sarah. Congratulations. Put me on speaker, is Naomi there? I tapped the button. You're on. Now's right here. Naomi, my girlfriend of a decade, looked up from her laptop on the couch, her brow furrowed in concern. She relaxed when she saw my smile. Naomi, Sarah yelled. I'm getting married. Oh my God, Sarah, that's amazing. Congratulations, Naomi's voice was warm, genuine. She's always been the better person between the two of us. Thank you. Listen, I know this is crazy and sudden, but I was thinking, would you be one of my bridesmaids? The air in the room stilled. Naomi's eyes went wide. She and Sarah had a cordial relationship, but not a close one. They were sister and girlfriend-in-law. It was a thing. Naomi stammered. Really? Yes, really, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. You were so incredible when Mark and I broke up. I was a wreck, and you literally brought me soup and watched terrible reality TV with me for a whole weekend. I've never forgotten that. I want you up there with me. I watched Naomi's face transform. A slow, brilliant smile spread across her lips. For years, she tried to bridge the gap with my sister to be more than just my plus one. This felt like a monumental victory. I would be honored, Sarah, she said, her voice a little shaky. Absolutely. For the next few weeks, that was all she could talk about. She bought wedding magazines. She bookmarked dress styles. She was all in. Then came the first crack. It happened on a Sunday. We were lazing around when Naomi went quiet, scrolling through her phone. I glanced over and saw it. A picture on Instagram. Sarah surrounded by 5 other women, all holding champagne flutes and little white boxes tied with silk ribbons. The caption read, "My bride tribe couldn't say I do without my crew number bridesmaid proposal." Naomi wasn't in the picture. She hadn't been invited. She closed the app and set her phone down, a carefully neutral expression on her face. Oh, she said, her voice small. Looks like she had a little party. What the hell? I grabbed my phone and called Sarah. She answered on the second ring, sounding breathless and happy. Hey bro. What's up? The bridesmaid brunch, Sarah. What was that? There was a pause. Oh my god, Vin, I'm so sorry. It was a totally last-minute thing. My maid of honor, Chloe, just threw it together. I was going to ask Naomi separately, you know. Do something special just for the two of us. This was just for the hometown girls. It sounded like grade A bullshit, but I wanted to believe her. For Naomi's sake. I relayed the excuse, adding as much sincerity as I could muster. Naomi nodded, wanting to believe it too. That makes sense, she said, though the light in her eyes had dimmed. It's fine, I'm just happy to be included. The special proposal never came. A couple of months passed. Wedding planning was in full chaotic swing. One night Naomi's phone rang. It was Sarah. I could hear her frantic energy through the receiver. Nah, thank God. The Bachelorette. I am so overwhelmed. You're like the most organized person I know. Can you help me, please? And just like that, Naomi was pulled back in. She spent the next 2 weeks acting as Sarah's unpaid party planner. She found a killer lake house rental, created a color-coded itinerary, designed custom brides, last splash t-shirts, and even organized a payment plan through Venmo for all the other bridesmaids. She and Sarah were on the phone constantly. You're a lifesaver, Nao, Sarah kept saying. I couldn't do this without you. Naomi was glowing. I think we're finally connecting, she told me, showing me the spreadsheet she'd made. I think she really sees me now. The Friday of the Bachelorette weekend arrived. Naomi had her bag packed, a bottle of nice tequila for the group sitting on the counter. The plan was to meet at Chloe's house at 4 p.m. to load up the cars and head out. At 3:30, Naomi texted the bridesmaid group chat, which she'd finally been added to a week prior. *** Naomi. ****. Hey ladies. So excited. Running about 10 minutes late. See you all at Chloe's soon. ***. Crickets. She frowned at her phone. That's weird. Usually someone replies instantly. At 4:15, she stood by the door with her bags, her anxiety a visible thrum under her skin. She sent another text. ***. Naomi ***. Hey, is everything okay? I'm at Chloe's, but no one's here. ***. Still nothing. The group chat was a dead zone. She tried calling Sarah. Straight to voicemail. She called Chloe. Voicemail. My stomach started to twist into a knot. This is messed up, I said. Just then her phone buzzed. It was a private message from one of the other bridesmaids, a girl named Jessica. Jessica ***. Hey Naomi. So sorry, this is super awkward. We all left this morning. Sarah said she told you the plan changed, and you guys were just gonna meet us there tonight ***. Naomi read the text out loud. Her voice flat hollow. She looked at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She did it again. My blood went from a simmer to a rolling boil. I grabbed my phone and fired off a text to Sarah. ***. Me ***. What the actual fuck, Sarah, you left Naomi behind. After she planned the whole goddamn thing ***. I tried calling. Voicemail. Naomi sank onto the couch, her packed bag slumping to the floor beside her. She didn't cry. She just stared at the wall, looking completely and utterly defeated. I don't understand why she hates me, she whispered. It was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. Hours later, around 1 a.m., my phone lit up with a reply from Sarah. Asterisk, asterisk. Sarah, asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Oh my God, Vin, stop freaking out. It was a total miscommunication. Things got crazy this morning and we left early to beat traffic. I swear I texted Nao. Tell her we're so sorry. And to come up tomorrow. We'll save some tequila for her XO asterisk. A lie. A pathetic, transparent lie. Naomi had checked her phone 100 times. There was no text. There was never going to be a text. After that, things got cold. Naomi politely bowed out of any further planning. She was still a bridesmaid, a title that now felt like a cruel joke. But she kept her distance. Sarah, for her part, acted like nothing had happened, all cheerful texts and exclamation points. It all came to a head at a family dinner a month before the wedding. The tension was so thick, you could have sliced it with the butter knife. My mom kept shooting me looks that said times be nice asterisk. Halfway through dessert, Sarah put her fork down, turned to Naomi, and put on her best pageant winner face. Now she began, her voice dripping with manufactured remorse. I just feel awful about the bachelorette mix-up. It was pure chaos and I was a terrible host. I want to make it up to you. Naomi stared at her, her expression unreadable. I really want you to get ready with us on the morning of the wedding, Sarah continued, her eyes wide and pleading. The whole thing. Mimosas, hair, makeup, pictures. Just us girls. It would mean the world to me. I caught Naomi's eye from across the table. I shook my head, just a tiny, almost imperceptible movement. Asterisk. Don't do it. It's a trap. Asterisk. But Naomi had a limitless capacity for hope that I would never understand. She glanced from me back to my sister's earnest, smiling face. A flicker of something, a desire to believe, to finally be let in, passed over her features. She forced a small smile. Okay, Sarah, she said softly. That sounds nice. I spent the next 3 weeks watching Naomi try to manage her expectations. She didn't buy magazines or bookmark anything. She just let the invitation hang in the air, a fragile glass bird she was afraid to touch. A week before the wedding, the other shoe dropped with the dull thud of inevitability. Naomi was on the couch scrolling through the bridesmaid group chat, which had gone largely silent for her. I should probably just confirm, she said, more to herself than to me. She typed out a message, her thumb hovering over the send button. She read it aloud. Hey Sarah. So excited for next week. Just wanted to check what time I should be there for hair and makeup. And if there's anything I should bring. Sounds fine, I said, my voice tight. She sent it. We watched the 3 little dots appear and disappear. A minute later, a reply came in. Not in the group chat, but in a private message to Naomi. Asterisk, asterisk. Sarah, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Hey Nao. Not sure what you mean. Just come to the ceremony with Vin. Can't wait to see you guys, asterisk. Naomi read it once, then twice. She didn't cry. She didn't even look surprised. She just set her phone down on the coffee table with a quiet finality, the screen facing down. A hollowed-out look settled over her face. It was the look of someone who had finally stopped hoping. And that was it for me. The part of me that was trying to give my sister the benefit of the doubt, the part that was trying to keep the peace, just died. Something cold and hard took its place. The next day, I drove to the mall. In the back of my car was the wedding gift, a gleaming, ridiculously expensive stand mixer in aqua sky blue. The one Sarah had been posting on her Pinterest board for a year, the one she dropped not-so-subtle hints about every time I saw her. I walked it back into the store, slid it across the customer service counter, and told the clerk I wanted a refund. I drove home, pulled a check from my checkbook, and wrote Times Pay. To the order of Sarah and Mark Asterisk. For the amount, I wrote exactly what the mixer cost down to the cent. I sealed it in a generic card that said best wishes. The wedding was a blur of fake smiles and polite nods. I stood for pictures. I danced with my mom. I watched Naomi navigate the day with a grace I could never possess. She congratulated my sister, hugged her even, and Sarah beamed back as if she'd just been sainted, oblivious to the chasm she'd carved between us. We left early. 3 days later, we were making pasta when my phone buzzed. It was Sarah. Asterisk, asterisk, Sarah, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Hey Vin, we're opening gifts now from the wedding. Mark and I are so confused, lol. We didn't see the mixer. Is it coming separately, asterisk? I stared at the message. The sheer unadulterated entitlement of it. My thumbs moved before my brain could stop them. Asterisk, asterisk. Me, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I didn't know how to ask, but what happened to treating my girlfriend like a freaking human being, asterisk? I hit send. The silence in the kitchen was absolute. Naomi looked up from the boiling water, her eyes wide. What did you do? My phone immediately began to vibrate like a trapped hornet. It didn't stop for the next hour. A text from Sarah's new husband, Mark. Asterisk, asterisk. Mark, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Dude, what the hell is your problem? Sarah is in tears. Way to ruin our honeymoon. Asterisk. A text from my older brother, Jason. Asterisk, asterisk. Jason, asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, mom just called me. You need to fix this, Vin. Now. Just apologize. Asterisk. And then the matriarch herself. Asterisk. Asterisk, mom. Asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, Vincent. Michael, you call your sister and apologize this instant. This is supposed to be the happiest time of her life. I did not raise you to be so cruel. Asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, mom. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Do you hear me? She's been through so much planning this wedding. Your girlfriend is a big girl. She can handle a little misunderstanding. You are tearing this family apart over nothing. Asterisk. Over nothing. I threw my phone onto the couch. It lit up again. Sarah. Asterisk, asterisk. Sarah, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. How could you do this to me? After everything. You've always been jealous of me, and now you're using Naomi to hurt me. It's sick. Asterisk. That was the one that broke me. Jealous, I started laughing. A bitter, ugly sound that filled our small apartment. I felt like I was going to be sick. Vin, Naomi said softly, putting a hand on my arm. Her touch was the only thing keeping me anchored. I shook my head, unable to speak. I just picked up my phone and showed her the thread. She read the messages, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to something I couldn't quite read. When she finished, she looked up at me. "You returned the mixer?" she asked. I nodded. I gave them a check. She was quiet for a long moment, just watching me. I braced myself for a lecture for her to tell me I'd gone too far, that I'd made things worse. "It was a bit much, Vin," she said finally. And I felt my shoulders slump. But she stepped closer, her eyes searching mine, and a tiny, complicated smile touched her lips. "I have to admit, it feels good to be seen." My phone buzzed again. My mother. I hit the power button and the screen went black. I looked at Naomi, at this incredible woman who had absorbed my sister's casual cruelty for years, always with more grace than she deserved. My family could have their honeymoon phase. They could have their drama. I knew where I stood. Story 8.
The first 48 hours with our son were a beautiful, terrifying, sleep-deprived blur. My wife Sarah was a warrior. I was just the guy running on coffee and adrenaline, trying to remember how to swaddle and not screw anything up. We brought him home, this tiny 7-pound miracle, and for one perfect evening it was just the three of us, our little family. We named him Alec. Not Alexander, just Alec. It felt strong, clean, and simple. It felt like him. The next day, the family pilgrimage began. My parents cried, Sarah's parents cried, everyone cooed over Alec, calling his name perfect. Then my sister Chloe arrived. She breezed in, dropped a gift bag on the counter, and peered into the bassinet. "Oh, he's so tiny," she said before looking up at me. "So, Alec. You mean Alex, right?" I smiled, still running on the high of being a new dad. "No, Alec. A-L-E-C. Chloe's face pinched just for a second. It was a look I knew well, the one she got right before offering an opinion nobody asked for. "Oh," she said, the single syllable loaded with judgment. "Okay. Well, you know, everyone is just going to call him Alex anyway. You probably should have just gone with that." Sarah, who was sitting on the couch nursing a cup of tea, shifted uncomfortably. "We liked Alex," she said, her voice quiet. "It's the name we chose, Chloe," I added, trying to sound breezy and final. Chloe just shrugged and changed the subject to the hideous diaper bag she'd bought us. But the damage was done. A tiny crack had appeared in our perfect little bubble. For the next few days, Chloe was cold. Her texts were one-word answers. She ignored a picture I sent of Alec in his first bath. It was classic Chloe sulking. I'd seen it a million times ever since we were kids, and I got the video game console she wanted for Christmas. I figured she'd get over it. It was a stupid thing to be weird about. I was wrong. A week after Alec was born, she called me while I was rocking him to sleep. Sarah was in the shower, her first real break of the day. "Hey, what's up?" I whispered, pacing the nursery. "I need to talk to you about the baby's name," she said, no preamble. My spine stiffened. "Chloe, we're not having this conversation again." "No, you need to listen," she insisted, her voice gaining an urgent, almost frantic edge. "I've been thinking about it nonstop. It's just a dumb name, Connor. I'm sorry, but it is. It sounds incomplete, like you got halfway through Alex and gave up. He's going to have to correct people his entire life." I stopped pacing. Alex stirred in my arms, and I started rocking again, my movements jerky with anger. "It's our son. We chose it. It's done." "But it's not," she said, her voice rising. "It's a mistake. A stupid, trendy mistake, and you shouldn't have chosen it. I'm just trying to save you from future embarrassment." I heard the bathroom door creak open down the hall. "Sarah?" "Chloe, I'm hanging up now," I said through gritted teeth. "I'm just saying what everyone else is too polite to say." I ended the call and shoved my phone in my pocket, my hand trembling. I walked out of the nursery to see Sarah standing in the hallway wrapped in a towel, her face pale, she'd heard. I saw it in her eyes, that flicker of doubt, that fresh wave of anxiety that was already consuming her. The postpartum anxiety had hit Sarah like a truck. She was barely sleeping, even when Alec was. She worried about everything: if he was warm enough, if he was eating enough, if she was holding him right. She was fragile, second-guessing every single instinct. And now my sister had just lobbed a grenade into her fragile confidence, basically telling her she'd failed at the very first task of motherhood, naming her child. "Don't listen to her," I said, my voice softer than I felt. "She's being ridiculous." Sarah just nodded, not meeting my eyes, and disappeared into our bedroom. I knew she wouldn't just brush it off. It would sit there and fester, another thing for her anxious mind to latch onto. For 2 days, there was silence. I didn't reach out to Chloe, and she didn't reach out to me. I was hoping, praying she'd finally dropped it. I focused on Sarah, trying to rebuild the confidence Chloe had shattered. I kept telling her how much I loved the name Alec, how perfect it was, how perfect times he times was. She would smile, but it never quite reached her eyes. Then this afternoon, my phone buzzed. I was sitting on the floor trying to assemble a baby swing that looked like it required an engineering degree. Sarah was on the couch with Alec sleeping on her chest, a rare moment of peace. I glanced at the screen. It was a text from Chloe. My stomach dropped. My hands were shaking as I opened it. It wasn't an apology. It was an ultimatum. Asterisk, asterisk, I've spoken to Mom and Dad, and they agree with me. This isn't just my opinion anymore, it's a family opinion. You need to take it on board and change the name. If you won't do that, you at least need to go correct the spelling on the birth certificate to Alex. It's not too late to fix this. Asterisk, asterisk. I stared at the glowing screen, the words burning into my retinas. Asterisk, correct the spelling. Fix this. Asterisk. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, shaking with a rage so pure and cold it felt like ice water flooding my chest. Beside me, Sarah stirred. Alec was still asleep on her, his tiny chest rising and falling in a rhythm of perfect peace. A peace my sister seemed hell-bent on destroying. "What is it?" Sarah whispered, her eyes tracking the rigid line of my jaw. I didn't say a word. I just turned the phone and let her read it. I watched her face crumble. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet, devastating collapse. The light in her eyes just went out. Her shoulders slumped, and she pulled Alec a little closer, as if to shield him from the words on the screen. That was it. That was the last straw. I stood up carefully, placing the half-assembled baby swing parts on the floor, and walked into the kitchen. I hit Chloe's contact and put the phone to my ear. She answered on the second ring, her voice smug. "Did you get my text? I think it's for the bee." "Listen to me very carefully," I cut her off, my voice dangerously low. "You will not contact me or Sarah about this again. Not by text, not by phone, not by carrier pigeon. Do you understand?" There was a stunned silence. "Excuse me, I was just..." "No," I snapped the word like a gunshot in the quiet house. "You don't get to just anything. Your opinion on my son's name is useless. It is worthless. It means absolutely nothing to me, and even less to Sarah. The only thing it's doing is causing pain to a new mother who is already going through hell, and I will not allow it." "How dare you?" she shrieked, her voice cracking with indignation. "I'm just sharing a family opinion. Mom and Dad agree with me." "I don't care if the Pope himself agrees with you," I retorted, my voice rising. "This is not a family opinion situation. This is my son, my wife, my family. There are some topics that are completely off limits. And this is the biggest one. You have crossed a line you can't even see anymore, Chloe. You're being a bully, Connor. I'm your sister." "Then act like it," I was yelling, now pacing the kitchen tiles like a caged animal. A sister would have brought a casserole and told my wife she was doing a great job. A sister would have held her nephew and said his name was perfect because times he times is perfect. You have done nothing but try to tear down the first real decision we've made as parents. So we're done. This conversation is over permanently. I hung up before she could say another word. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I leaned against the counter, breathing heavily, the silence of the house pressing in on me. When I walked back into the living room, Sarah was looking at me, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered, her voice thick. "Yes," I said, my own voice shaking. "I really did." The fallout was faster and more brutal than I could have imagined. 2 hours later, while I was finally wrestling the last screw into the baby swing, my mom called. "Connor, what on earth did you say to your sister? She is absolutely beside herself." I didn't even try to soften it. I told her to leave us alone. She said you called her opinion useless and screamed at her. My dad's voice chimed in from a speakerphone. She was just trying to help son. We all think Alec is a bit unconventional. Alex is just a stronger name. I felt a fresh wave of fury so potent it made me dizzy. Unconventional. It's a name. It's not like we named him Xylophone. And she wasn't helping, she was demanding. She sent Sarah a text telling us to go change the birth certificate. After I already told her to stop. Well, her delivery might have been a bit off, my mother conceded, but her heart was in the right place. You were far too harsh, Connor. She's your family. You owe her an apology. I laughed. It was a hollow, ugly sound. An apology? Are you kidding me? You want me to apologize for defending my wife and my son? You need to learn that not everything is a personal attack, my dad said, his tone dripping with paternal disappointment. You've completely overreacted and hurt your sister's feelings. Frankly, we're very disappointed in you. Disappointed. The word hit me like a physical blow. They weren't disappointed in Chloe for her cruelty, for her relentless harassment of a woman struggling with postpartum anxiety. They were disappointed in me for standing up to it. Okay, I said, my voice flat and dead. I see how it is. I have to go. Alec needs a diaper change. I hung up on them too. I didn't have the energy for another fight. I stood there in the living room, the garish, colorful baby swing finally assembled a monument to a life that was supposed to be joyful, but now felt like a battlefield. My own parents. They had sided with her. I was completely on my own. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the soft breathing of my wife and son. Sarah had finally fallen into a deep, exhausted sleep. I watched them for a long time, this perfect little unit I had fought for, and a corrosive doubt began to creep in. Was I too harsh? Did I overreact? The words my dad said echoed in my head. Asterisk, you've hurt your sister's feelings. Asterisk, in their eyes, I was the villain. I was the one who broke the peace, not Chloe. They had me questioning my own reality, my own justifiable anger. I slipped out of bed and went to the living room, the glow of my laptop screen cutting through the darkness. I felt isolated, cornered, and furious. I needed an outside perspective. I needed to know if I was crazy. My fingers flew across the keyboard, typing out the whole miserable story. The first visit, the phone call, the ultimatum, the showdown. I described Sarah's anxiety, my parents' betrayal, and the soul-crushing feeling of being ganged up on by the people who were supposed to be my biggest support. I typed until my fingers ached and my eyes burned. When I was done, I stared at the blinking cursor at the end of the post. I gave it a title, a simple, desperate question for a jury of anonymous strangers. Am I the bad guy for telling my sister her opinion on my son's name is useless and worthless? I took a deep breath. And I clicked post.
Story 9.
The text from Maya came on a Tuesday. Massive news engagement party this Saturday, my place. It's a costume party. Be there. A costume party. Perfect. That's my language. I've known Maya since we were kids, building pillow forts, and now at 19 I was building elaborate cosplays in my garage. She was the one person who got it. She'd sit on a stool for hours, handing me tools and offering opinions on foam armor while she told me about her life. Lately, it was all about David. David, her fiancé. The guy who always seemed a little too polished. He smiled at all the right times, but it never quite reached his eyes. "What's the theme?" I texted back. "No theme, go nuts," she replied. No theme is a trap. It's a test. You can't just show up as a generic pirate. You have to be clever. And for my best friend's engagement party, clever was the bare minimum. I spent a solid hour brainstorming before it hit me. An engagement party, a wedding adjacent theme, something iconic and a little dramatic. The Corpse Bride. It was perfect. A little gothic, a little funny, and a technical challenge. I already had a base wedding dress from a thrift store haul that I'd been saving for something special. For the next 4 days, I lived in my garage. I shredded the hem of the dress, stained it with tea and gray acrylic paint to look like it had been buried for a century. I molded a rib cage out of foam clay and stitched it into a gaping hole in the side. The veil was the easy part. The makeup was the hardest. It took 3 practice runs to get the exact shade of melancholy blue and the perfect doll-like eyes. By Saturday night, I looked incredible. The dress was a tragic masterpiece, the skeletal arm I'd fashioned looked unnervingly real, and the blue makeup was flawless. I was a walking, talking Tim Burton creation. I couldn't wait for Maya to see it. I got to her house and it was already packed. The place looked amazing, way fancier than I expected, with fairy lights strung up everywhere and people in cocktail dresses mingling with guys in superhero costumes. It was an eclectic mix. I spotted a guy dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow talking to a woman in a sleek black dress, who was clearly not in costume. The no-theme thing really threw people. David saw me first. He was standing near the door, holding a glass of champagne, looking sharp in a tailored suit. His eyes scanned my costume from head to toe. A slow, tight smile spread across his face. "Wow, Grant," he said, his voice smooth as glass. "You really went all out." You know me, I laughed. Go big or go home. "Where's Maya? I want to see her reaction." "She's in the garden, making the rounds." "Grab a drink?" "She'll find you." I did just that. For the next hour, I was a hit. People loved the costume. They wanted pictures, they asked how I made the arm, they complimented the makeup. I felt great. I found Maya in the garden, and she shrieked with delight when she saw me. "Grant! Oh my God, you look amazing," she yelled, pulling me into a hug, careful not to smudge my makeup. She was glowing, wearing a simple but beautiful white dress that wasn't a costume at all. "You said go nuts, so I went nuts," I said, spinning to show off the tattered train. "It's perfect. You're insane." "I love it." We chatted for a bit, catching up before she was pulled away by another guest. I settled into the party feeling completely at ease. This was exactly where I was supposed to be celebrating my best friend in the most me way possible. About an hour later, David clinked a champagne flute with a knife. The crowd quieted down, gathering in the living room. Maya joined him at the front, her hand in his. They looked like a magazine cover. "Thank you all so much for coming," David started, his arm wrapped around Maya's waist. "It means the world to us that you're all here to celebrate with us." Maya beamed. "We're so grateful to have you all in our lives. Which is why we wanted you to be here for the Times Real Times event." She paused for dramatic effect, looking at David. He took a deep breath, his smile widening. "This isn't an engagement party." A confused murmur rippled through the room. I leaned against a wall, intrigued. "Surprise," they shouted in unison. "It's our wedding. The officiant will be here in 20 minutes. The room exploded. People were cheering, screaming, clapping. My stomach dropped through the floor. The champagne flute in my hand suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I looked down at my tattered, stained wedding dress, at my blue skin, at my exposed foam clay ribs. This isn't a costume party. This is a wedding. And I'm in a wedding dress. Panic, cold and sharp, shot through my veins. My clever, relevant costume had just become a monstrous, attention-grabbing insult. I had to fix this. Now, I pushed through the celebrating crowd, my eyes locked on David. Maya was already swarmed by her family crying happy tears. David was my only option. I grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the kitchen. "David," I whispered, my voice tight. "Oh my God. I had no idea. I am so sorry." He looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Sorry for what? It's a party. I'm wearing a wedding dress to your wedding. I have to go change. I live 10 minutes away. I can be back in a real suit before the ceremony even starts. No one will even notice I was gone. I was already planning my escape route. I could sprint home, shower off the blue paint, throw on the one good suit I owned, and make it back just in time. It was possible. It was necessary." David put a hand on my shoulder, his grip surprisingly firm. He looked me right in the eye. "Don't," he said. I blinked. "What?" "Don't go," he repeated, his voice calm and steady. "Seriously, man, it's fine. It's hilarious. We told people it was a costume party. You came in a costume. It's not a big deal." "It is a big deal. I can't stand up at your wedding dressed like the corpse bride." "Why not?" He actually chuckled. Maya thought it was great. She'd be more upset if you just left her wedding. Just stay. Enjoy yourself. We want you here just like this. He was the groom. He was telling me explicitly that it was okay. That he and Maya wanted me to stay. My frantic energy deflated, replaced by a wave of awkward relief. I was still mortified, but if the groom himself was telling me not to worry, I had to trust him. "Are you absolutely sure?" I asked one last time. 100%, he said, patting my shoulder. "Now go get another drink. You look like you've seen a ghost." He winked and walked back to his guests. So I stayed. I sat through the ceremony in the back row, trying to shrink into myself. I felt every single stare from Maya's great aunts. During the reception, I hovered by the bar, avoiding the dance floor and the wedding photographer like they were the plague. I did what David said. I stayed. I tried to enjoy myself. I watched Maya have the happiest night of her life, and I pushed down the crippling feeling that I was a walking, breathing joke, tainting her perfect day. When it was time to leave, I found Maya and gave her a huge, careful hug. "Congratulations, May. I'm so happy for you." "Thank you for being here, Grant," she said, her eyes shining. She seemed a million miles away, lost in her own happiness, and didn't mention the dress once. I gave David a nod. "Congrats, man." He clapped me on the back. "Thanks for staying," he said with that same tight smile. "Drive safe." I drove home the steering wheel, cool against my blue-painted hands. I felt exhausted, embarrassed, but mostly just glad it was over. I dodged a bullet. David had saved me. In my apartment, I peeled off the skeletal glove and tossed it on my chair. I just wanted to get the makeup off and forget this whole night ever happened. My phone, which had been on silent, was sitting on the counter. As I walked past, the screen lit up. Then it lit up again. And again. A rapid-fire succession of buzzes vibrated across the granite. I picked it up. 3 new messages, all from Maya. The preview on the lock screen was short, sharp, and hit me like a punch to the gut. "What the hell is wrong with you?" My fingers fumbled as I unlocked the phone, the blue makeup smearing a faint streak across the screen. Her full messages loaded in a sickening cascade. Maya times, "What the hell is wrong with you?" asterisk. Maya times, "To wear a wedding dress to my wedding." "Are you that desperate for attention?" asterisk. Maya times, "You couldn't let me have one day. One day that wasn't about you and your stupid costumes." You've humiliated me. You've humiliated David. Asterisk. The words blurred. It felt like a physical blow. I immediately hit her contact and called. It rang once before going to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. My heart hammered against my ribs, the ones made of foam clay I'd so carefully crafted. I typed a reply, my hands shaking so badly I had to delete and restart 3 times. Me times? Maya, what are you talking about? I offered to leave. I begged David to let me go home and change. He told me to stay. He said it was fine, asterisk. The 3 little dots appeared instantly, then vanished. A new message popped up, not from her, but from David. David Times, hey man. Maya's really upset. You need to apologize. Asterisk. I stared at his text, a cold dread washing over me. This was a nightmare. I forwarded him a screenshot of my last text to Maya. Me times, apologize for what? For listening to you. You need to tell her what happened. Tell her you told me to stay. Asterisk. David Times, whoa, hold on. I was trying to be nice. I didn't think you'd actually stick around for the ceremony looking like that. You put me in an impossible spot. I couldn't exactly kick my wife's best friend out of our wedding. Asterisk. The gaslighting was so blatant, so absolute, it stole my breath. He was twisting his explicit instructions into a vague gesture of politeness. He was painting me as the socially inept weirdo who couldn't take a hint. Me times, that is a lie. You were specific. You said, don't go. You said it was hilarious and that Maya would be more upset if I left. You know you did. Asterisk. David Times, look, you made a scene, I tried to manage it, and now my wife is crying on our wedding night. This is on you, Grant. You caused this. You owe her an apology. We need you to just leave us alone right now. Asterisk. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard full of furious, useless words. What could I even say? He had his story, and he was sticking to it. Before I could type another letter, a final message came through from Maya. Maya, times David. Just told me everything. How you refused to leave when he asked you to. I can't believe you would lie to me like this. On top of everything else? I'm done. Lose my number. Asterisk. I tried to reply a frantic jumble of, he's lying to you, but the message failed to send. A small red exclamation point appeared next to it. Message failed to deliver. I went to her profile. Blocked. I switched to David's. Blocked. Just like that, I was gone. Cut out. Erased. I sank onto my couch, still in the dress, the cheap lace, scratching my skin. The blue makeup felt like a mask of shame I couldn't take off. My best friend since kindergarten, the girl who knew every secret I had, thought I was a monster. And her new husband, the man I had trusted, had orchestrated the whole thing. The next few days were a gray, silent blur. I scrubbed the blue paint from my skin until it was raw. I took the corpse bride dress, the skeletal arm, the veil, all of it, and shoved it into a black trash bag in the back of my closet. Every time my phone buzzed with a notification from someone else, my stomach lurched with the false hope that it was her. It never was. The silence from her was louder than any argument we'd ever had. On Thursday evening, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize, but the text was unmistakable. It's Maya. Can we talk? I called the number instantly. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was flat, hollowed out. Hi. Maya, I breathed a mix of relief and anger swirling in my gut. Are you okay? What happened? I'm not home, she said, her voice cracking. I'm at my sister's place. Why? What's going on? There was a long pause, then a shaky sigh. Because you were right, Grant. You were telling the truth. I weighted my knuckles white on the phone. For 2 days, she began, I believed him. I was so angry, so hurt. I couldn't understand how you could be so cruel. David told me he'd pulled you aside and quietly asked you to change, and that you'd laughed it off, saying the invitation said go nuts, and that you weren't leaving. He made you sound so arrogant. My throat tightened. That's not what happened. I know, she whispered. But something felt off. The way he told the story was too perfect. Too practiced. So yesterday, I called my cousin Sarah. She was standing by the kitchen when you two were talking. She heard everything. My mind flashed back to the party. I remembered seeing people milling around, but I was in too much of a panic to notice who. Sarah said she heard you pleading with him, Maya continued, her voice gaining a sharp edge of anger. She heard you say you lived 10 minutes away and could be back in a suit. And she heard David, clear as day, tell you, don't go. It's fine. We want you here just like this. The validation was a hollow victory. It didn't fix the agony of the past few days. I confronted him with it last night, she said. He tried to deny it, said Sarah, must have misheard. But then I told him I'd also spoken to Mark, the guy in the pirate costume, who saw the whole exchange. That's when David... He broke. She took a shaky breath. He admitted everything, Grant. Everything. This wasn't an accident. It was a plan. He's been jealous of us for 5 years. He told me he hates how you and I have a history he can't be a part of. He hates that I tell you things I don't tell him. He thought if he could just make you look like a selfish asshole, I would finally cut you out of my life for good. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. The no-theme party. The way his eyes raked over my costume. His smooth, easy dismissal of my panic. The perfectly constructed lie. It was a 5-year-long resentment culminating in a single devastating act of sabotage. He saw your costume, Maya choked out a sob, finally breaking through, and he knew he'd hit the jackpot. It was the perfect trap. And I walked right into it. Maya, I'm so sorry, I said, but the words felt stupid and small. It's not your fault, she said fiercely. It's his. I married a man who built our wedding day on a lie designed to destroy my oldest friendship. I looked at him last night and I didn't recognize him. The trust is... It's not just broken, Grant. It's gone. It was never even there. We sat in silence for a moment, the chasm David had created stretching between our two phones. He hadn't just tried to ruin a friendship. He'd poisoned his own marriage from the very first minute. He got what he wanted, a fight that might end our friendship, but the fallout had incinerated his entire world. What are you going to do? I asked quietly. I don't know, she said, her voice weary. I just know I can't go home. Not now. Maybe not ever.